just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. And before we get into it, that's right, we are all headed to Vegas tomorrow. There'll be a bunch of content. Myself and Hammy will be going across with Sportsbet. The Guru, he's going on with his own crew. However, I'm sure we'll all meet up and have some fun together. So make sure to tune into all of our channels, especially Sportsbet. Myself and Hammy will be doing some fun stuff over there. Let's just put it that way.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to, you know, all of us getting together over there at some stage as well. Rue's been pretty keen to get us to the Thunder from Down Under shows. So
Keeps pushing it.
I hear he's booked a good table for us. So it should be great. Can't wait to go. We head over tomorrow. Any stuff you'd like us to lift the lid on and do while we're there as well?
Leave a comment in the YouTube or Spotify.
Yes, let us know in the comments. And we live to give. We're there to show you what it's like on the ground over there. We've got a few plans in place already, but let us know. We'll try and tick off a few things that you'd like to see as well.
We hope to say, are you not entertained at the end of it? And you can not respond to it and you say, no, I was entertained.
Yep.
That's our hope by the end of the week. That's the goal. That's
Yep.
the goal. Standing out the front of a stadium yelling, are you not entertained, into a camera, and then literally having no comments because you were entertained.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Aim high.
Hey?
Aim high.
Aim high, absolutely. Shoot for the stars, you land on the moon.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, we're going to Vegas, so make sure to tune in. We're going to Vegas, make sure to tune in. It's going to be a bloody good week. We cannot wait. And don't forget, make sure to like and subscribe, guys. All the liking of the YouTube and the Spotify, it's really helped the engagement in regards to the podcast. So it takes you 2 seconds and it genuinely does help. It puts it in the feed, it helps it in the algorithm, and we've noticed it ever since you guys have gone, you know what, I will like the video and I will subscribe. We've noticed a jump in numbers. So that's thanks to you guys. It takes you 2 seconds and it really, really does help. And plus our YouTube subscribers has been rapidly increasing, probably the fastest it's gone in quite a while. And that's, again, all thanks to you guys. So make sure to subscribe to us on Spotify as well and also YouTube. And tonight at 6 p.m., the second ever Could Be Anything merch drop is happening. That is right. I'm wearing the black version right now. We've got obviously black and white. We've got Hammy beside me. He's wearing the blue and white. And then we've also got Rue over here wearing the blue and white hat. They are the colours that we've got that we are dropping tonight. It is very limited numbers, guys. It's a second drop. We don't do these designs again. So if you like this Could Be Anything, the class of 2025 design, make sure to get it because we don't do the designs again. And this year the class is Owen Paddy, it's Riley Smith, it's Robert Toya,
Tom Duffy, and Jamie Humphries. And I'll tell you what, it was a big weekend for the boys.
Duffy killed it.
Paddy, but I've heard that he was killing it in Vegas overnight.
Of course he's killing it.
Flying.
Owen Paddy killed it in his first trial. Duffy killed it yesterday. Smith was great.
Humphries
was outstanding. So, and then you obviously got Toya at the Roosters. Bit of a tough day. However, he showed some glimpses. Absolutely. So that is tonight at 6 o'clock. Get around the drop, guys. It's the best way to support the podcast, best way to support the great Rue, and we'll be making sure to wear our Could Be Anything gear over in Vegas. And as I said, guys, high quality material, really, really good stuff. We've finally settled on like a really good cut that suits, I don't know, our style of shirt, that's for sure. So that's tonight at 6 p.m. at bloke.shop. Set your alarms. Very limited numbers, guys. Don't get upset at me. If you get there at 6:05, it's gone. I'm telling you right now, they are very limited numbers. So be there at 6 o'clock New South Wales time. Alrighty, it's time to face a bit of music. Proudly brought to you by our friends over at Sportsbet. Give us a follow on the feed. The Rugby League season has started, so you can see exactly what I am punting on every single week, and you can copy my bets. And also, you can give Hammy a follow on the feed as well.
Get around me on the feed, please do. So it was the last week of pre-season, and we're all asked to find some bets in those last games of the pre-season challenge. We didn't have teams live when we were on the show last week, so we didn't have markets up because obviously in pre-season it's a little bit, teams take a bit of a pump with their lineups and whatever. But the week before we had 6 games resulted by 13 plus. Ooh. So we were asked to keep our eye out for some 13 plus results. Now, if you have a look at the games across the weekend, there was 4 that were decided by 13 or more. So, there should be a few amongst the group. So let's see how we went through the group. Now, Timmy is our first cab off the rank. Now, he misunderstood the assignment. He gave us Manly 13 plus. But we were looking for teams that won by 13 plus, not lost by 13 plus.
Can I add in too, when team list came out, very cocky Timbo.
Yeah.
He was feeling very good about
and
himself.
And also, what about the tactical 13 plus there? Because he would have been aware that Penrith playing the reserve grade side. and he's such a weak cat. He always picks wingers for any-time try scorers.
Yep.
He tried to trick the system, and the rugby league gods, they said, fucking shut up, Timmy, and get the fuck out of here.
That's pretty much what they said. So they were $1.15 Manly in this game.
You know what? He betted he punted like a weak-gutted dog. That's what he punted like.
He did. And Penrith in this game were $21 to win 13 plus. And that's what happened.
Like, imagine you put your bet on a 13 plus and the team against you is $21 to win a 13 plus, and it's at $5.50 just to win, and you're going against that, and you still lost. I actually think he should lose 2 points.
Well, he's fled the country in shame already. So a 26-point swing there for Timmy, not the best to get us off the mark. Guru, you took the Eels 13 plus against my boys in an incredible cheap shot. So
It's a bit of spite in that.
yeah, cop that, mate.
Got what I deserve.
Go Tigers.
The Tigers, they stand up when you need them to, that's for sure.
They will this year. Mark my words. There was a real vibe out there on the hill. Not getting ahead of ourselves, but did book a few grand final tickets about 20 minutes through the first half there. Now, I had our gracious hosts over the weekend. I'm sure we'll talk about our little trip up to the Dolphins a little bit later, but I had the Dolphins 13 plus not to be this time, but I don't care. I'll stand by that because they were great hosts, great hospitality. So I didn't get a point, but I can hold my head high. Denon, you took the Broncos 13 plus. Congratulations. Well done.
We are building a preseason dynasty.
Yep.
We are building a preseason dynasty. It's back-to-back preseason challenge victories for us. No one's ever done that before. Yes, put it this way. No one's ever won back-to-back preseason challenges. However, St. George won 11 premierships in a row. Therefore, it's actually a bigger deal that Broncos have won back-to-back preseason than it is 4 in a row from Penrith.
And interestingly,
In the salary cap era too.
In the salary cap era, we're first team ever to go back-to-back in the preseason cup.
it is impressive. And every team that's ever won it has finished 12th in the regular season. So Broncos to miss
But no team's ever gone back-to-back, though. So we don't have a stat for the back-to-back bit.
Yeah.
So just saying.
But if we're analysing some of the other data available, looks like maybe you might be finishing 12th this year. Anyway, watch this space.
Hey, when you're up at KO yesterday, were there cutlets getting around?
There was not.
No cutlets.
And we said, a few people said, where's Guru? I said, well, Guru said no cutlets, no Guru.
No, really.
So, do I have to draw you a diagram,
Yeah,
people?
Dolphins sent him a contract and it had no cutlets in it. And he said, fuck, I'm not
That's
coming.
it. Yeah, talk to the hand. Now, Matty had the Storm 13 plus out at Casey Fields. No good. So only one of us got any points this week, and that was you, Denon. Congratulations.
Just get it. I just get rugby league.
So here's where we're sitting overall for 2025. Denon, you're out in front on 6 points. Matty's on 5. Timmy has fled the country. He's on 4. So's Roo. And I'm bringing up the rear on 3 points. So I'm staring down the barrel of one of those paddles at the Heart Attack Grill this Sunday to face a bit of music over there in Vegas.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
You can always just say it's all for content.
Yeah.
It's all for content. Your bad tipping is for content.
It is. I live to give. Oh, no, I lost. I have to get spanked at the Heart Attack Grill.
Okay.
So looking forward to that on Sunday.
There you go. There's Face the Music, brought to you by our friends over at Sportsbet. As I said, we'll be heading over. Thanks to Sportsbet. Myself and Hammy, thanks to Sportsbet. We'll be heading to Vegas. A massive thank you to Vegas for Sportsbet for allowing that to happen. And also, taking care of us by putting it over there. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. So get around us on the feed, guys. And plus, we got some content that we shot last week that I think people are going to enjoy.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had the great Gronk.
Oh, we can say it?
We can say it.
Okay,
Yeah.
we can say it. Gronkowski.
Yeah.
The big fella. We were shooting some content with the big fella.
Yeah.
Absolute legend of a bloke.
Cracking fella. You showed him a bit of your content from over the
Hey,
years
don't
as well?
say it yet. Don't want to spoil it.
All right, no spoilers.
No spoilers.
but,
No spoilers.
It will leave some jaws on the floor, this stuff, when it does see the light of day.
I tell you what, seeing Gronkowski in full flight, even as a retired, he is huge. He would be 6'6", you reckon?
6'6", yeah.
6'6". Nearly killed oneless.
He did.
Literally nearly killed oneless. He is so big. He is so big. But absolute legend of a guy. For a bloke as world famous as him, he couldn't have been more down to earth.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
He was just he just bought into everything we asked him to do. Got right into it all. Was just enthusiastic the whole time. If he saw you over a couple of days, he'd remember people. He was great.
Yeah, legend.
He worked so hard over I think he went home last night, but 3 days he didn't stop. He was really good.
Yeah, he was really good. And even usually if you're doing shooting content with someone, they might be like, oh, can we do this way or this way? Literally never. He was always just like, yep, whatever you want, boom, I'll do it. So it was a really cool experience.
He was really good.
Massive thank you to Sportsbet. Also tonight at 7 o'clock on YouTube, another episode of Bloke Bucket List. with the great Herbie Farnworth. That's right, we've got a vlog coming out at 7 p.m. tonight. Bloke's Bucket List with Herbie Farnworth. Do not miss it, so set your alarms. I'm sure you guys will really enjoy it. Just a really cool insight to what it's like on game day for Herbie. Dally M Centre of the Year. We also discussed my disgusting comments of saying that I didn't think he'd be a top-tier centre. I thought he was just a really good one. So stay tuned for how he responds to that, guys. That's at 7 o'clock. Bloke Bucket List, another vlog dropping tonight.
Speaking of dynasties, he's starting one in the Roasties Hottest 100, isn't he? He's
Back to
gone
back.
I was about to say, where does he start to sit all time?
Hottest players.
Yeah, as hottest players. Like, he's gone back to back in an era of some pretty good-looking Roosters getting in the game. If he goes three,
he's got to be in the immortal conversation.
And I got to say, sometimes it's good from far, but far from good. But it wasn't that. It's actually good up close.
Up close?
Yeah, sometimes from afar, someone can be hot and you get close and you go, oh, shit.
Yeah.
But not with that. You're like, oh, shit, but in a good way.
Yeah. The accent adds a couple of points too.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's the complete package.
He is a complete
package.
package.
It's a good point. I think he's right up there.
Absolutely. So good on you, Herbie. Appreciate you. Okay, now let's get into the hungriest player this week. Brought to you by our friends over at Menulog. This week, the hungriest player. There was actually quite a few. We obviously got Finau from the Dragons. That was outstanding. However, I couldn't go past the big fella from Penrith, the number 7, Trent Tolau. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Trent Tolau, number 7 from the Penrith Panthers. Just when you thought that maybe there'll be some weaknesses in the halves, and I get it, it's just a trial. I get it. But what a trial. He went out there with a reserve grade side against a essentially full strength. I know they weren't playing a couple of key players, Manly, but he went out there as a reserve grader himself against essentially a first grade side and absolutely tore them to shreds. And so, you question sometimes the Penrith Panthers each year. We've gone into the new year, they've lost a Dally M centre. Oh, they've lost a Dally M back row, or one of the best back rows in the comp. Oh, well, they've lost another Dally M centre. And then this year we go into another year and we go, they've lost a player in the spine. Maybe that's the key. It's a player in the spine that they've lost. They built this whole team around Luai and Cleary. And then all of a sudden, a guy like Trent Tolau is probably, third or fourth in line? Comes out and absolutely tears Manly apart and just does it in a way where, all of his tries or try assists were different. So the first one was a show and go straight through the line. The second one was a grubber in the wet, pinpoint accuracy. And then the third try assist was a little dink to the corner where the winger just landed perfectly where it was. A super impressive showing from Trent Tolau, and I tell you, that's why the Penrith Panthers have got big raps on him. He was absolutely outstanding, and I think Penrith Panthers just show that we're dealing with, I've said it quite a few times since the Penrith Panthers dynasty has started, but imagine the Melbourne Storm system with one of the best young development areas in the country, and that's what we're dealing with Penrith Panthers.
Yeah, I thought he was great over the last 2 weeks. As you said, mate, a few weeks ago I would have said he is probably third or fourth down the pecking order. I don't know if he is now. I thought in trial 1, he didn't start. He came off the bench. He was the best half in that game by a distance. He was fantastic in this one. Not only playing well, but playing in, he had no first graders with him. He had a hooker at 5'8", going up against a Manly side that had a number of first graders in there. I think you said Manly were at $1.15. This shouldn't happen. And it probably doesn't happen without him, to be honest with you. He was that good.
Well, it was the first 20 and he had 2 try assists and a try, 25 minutes. And that set the tone for the rest of the game. It's incredible. And Penrith just, I know we heap praise on them week after week after week, but I can't express to you guys how hard it is to create what they've created. There are so many moving factors. There's so many outside, external pressures that we're talking about a club that lost Katoa. Usually that would devastate a club for the next, 3 or 4 years if they lost a guy like Katoa coming through. They lose Katoa, and all of a sudden they've got now Trent Tolau. Now, I don't know whether Tolau will be as good as Katoa. He might be better, he might be worse. I'm not sure. We don't know that. However, most clubs, if they lost a guy like Katoa, would be sitting there going, all right, now we need to wait another 3 or 4 years for another version of that to come through. Penrith Panthers, their system is so strong, they have already maybe filled that hole.
Yeah, and you have a look, even back a few years ago when they won the SG Ball, the halves were Isaiah Katoa and Keegan Russell-Smith, who's at Melbourne now. You wouldn't see too many teams that win Jersey Flag, everyone leaves. Yeah. And then, on top of that, when you look at Isaiah Katoa, the guy that's waiting for his jersey is Sean O'Sullivan, who was also in that squad as well. Yeah. Yep. it's crazy. And, people say from this game, it was Penrith's reserve grade side. It's like, it was, but you got to remember as well, probably their 7 best reserve graders are already in Vegas.
Yeah.
So it was even a tier below that realistically.
Yep.
And it's just a sign of what they've built over there and how strong the culture is.
It's scary. Like, you look at it and you just go, if this, something new has to, be put into this, or, what I mean by that is, they seem to have planned so well into the future that now they've almost got, 4 or 5, maybe even 10 years of planning into the future, that there's going to have to be some strange spanner in the works that ruins it. How does this fall apart when it looks like that they have everything sorted for the next 10 years? Because let's say everything's sorted for the next 10 years, whilst that's all sorted, then you can start sorting the next bloody 10 years. They're just in a scary position. It is scary how dominant this club is.
Of their top 30, 3 of them played in that game.
That's actually insane.
It's ridiculous.
Actually, and they didn't just win, they dominated.
And Sonny Luke played out of position.
Oh, man.
He's one of the 3.
It's scary, man, what we're witnessing. As I said, now, when I say imagine the Melbourne Storm system, I'm not saying it's the same as the Melbourne Storm system. What I'm saying is the quality is on par with what the Storm have managed to do for so long. Matter of fact, you could argue it's better. However, the difference with the Storm is they don't have that big junior base. So you get an on-par quality as the Melbourne Storm system, potentially even better, with the base that Penrith have. What do you do?
Do I know the funny irony in all this? He actually came through he's a Victorian boy.
Yeah, he's from Victoria.
He came through the Melbourne Thunderbolts system, the Victorian Thunderbolt system, which only got established maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So,
and what's crazy is that it shows you that when you compare it to the Melbourne Storm system, what were they always good at? Identifying players that other teams didn't see that greatness in. Cameron Smith, Billy Slater, Cooper Cronk. Now the Penrith Panthers have done a Melbourne Storm tour of the Melbourne Storm and gone, one of your players, we've identified that you've clearly, whether he's way down in the pecking order, whatever the reason. Now, you don't know why, but the fact of the matter is the Penrith Panthers have identified this kid and he's come up to Penrith and he had 12 games off the bench last year. So, it's scary what they're doing out there.
And even in those 12 games, he came on, he played a bit of 9 and he floated around a little bit. And I thought, he's okay, but he's not. But you obviously never got to see him play out and out halfback.
Yeah.
You see it on the weekend, you go, okay, I get it now.
And even the fact that he's an out and out halfback, the fact that he can even come and play 9 in NRL is a big deal. There's a lot of 7s in there right now that could never do that in their debut year. Come on. But the Penrith Panthers have developed such a good system that they can do that. What do you reckon, mate?
It was unbelievable. I couldn't, believe on a paper it looked like such a mismatch. The odds suggested it was going to be a sure thing for Manly, but the Panthers and their depth, led by this guy, was crazy. Very, very impressive. And, obviously there's a bit of movement this year at the club. Luai's left. Blaze Talangi, we assume he's probably going to get that first crack at the number 6. But
that's the thing that hasn't really been spoken about much. Blaze Talangi's gone to that club and he was a boom player himself.
Yeah, yep. So, he's probably going to get the first crack, but he hasn't played a lot of 6 in first grade. So if it doesn't work out, having guys like this constantly putting pressure on your spot, I suppose that's why the Panthers are so good, because there are so many guys ready to come in and do a job. He was super, super impressive.
So it was just the ultimate sign to this club as well. They're going to play in Las Vegas for round 1. They haven't played together. They haven't played a trial.
Single trial. They did a scrimmage the other week or something like that.
Sure, they were meant to play against the Bears. They pulled the plug on that. They haven't played a trial together.
Isn't this Melbourne-Penrith rivalry just building and building? So apparently they were supposed to play the Bears, which is the Melbourne reserve grade side. And then, to my understanding, reading the articles, I haven't heard the Melbourne Storm side, but Ivan Cleary basically said that the side that was named wasn't the side that they thought they were going to play in regards to standard of player.
Well, if you look at the team that Melbourne put out last week, it would have been pretty evident that Bears side would have been a below reserve grade side.
And so Ivan Cleary and the Penrith Panthers then pull out of the trial because they're saying, you guys promised us, a much better, a stronger side to trial against. And so this story of the Melbourne Storm and Penrith Panthers, just another chapter in a rivalry that's just building and building and building, and it goes all the way back, obviously, to the last grand final loss that they had. You would say Penrith Panthers avenged that, but, Ivan Cleary and that side are such competitors. I'm sure they're not just happy with one grand final win over them. I'm sure they want bloody 10 grand final wins over them if they can.
Yeah, I remember thinking, I always thought whenever they played each other the last years, I think, you could see on Jerome Luai that he still had the shits about that grand final loss.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see when he plays them against the Tigers. I reckon he'll be exactly the same. I reckon he just hates them because of that. It's personal for him.
It's personal. And, I mean, I've spoken about it before, but you go back to a couple years ago, the end-of-season chat that Ivan had at the Penrith Ball at the end of the year, and he was still filthy. So he'd won 3 premierships in a row, and he was still filthy about the one he lost 3 before that. Like, that's the kind of juggernaut we're dealing with. They're 4 premierships in a row in, and they're still filthy about a loss 4 or 5 years ago. It's incredible.
I was thinking about it the other day with this Panthers side, and we're probably getting a little bit off topic, but I think it's an interesting chat. You have a look at like when this dynasty started, and you know, it obviously started in 2020. And when you look at the age of all these guys now, like I think, considering they've won 4 comps in a row, it's still a pretty young squad, realistically.
Yep. Well, Isaiah Yo's, what, 30?
Yeah, like I'd love to... Do you think there's something in that just before this started, the whole game went into lockdown? They were all locked in hotel rooms together. I'm sure, like, for us with wives, girlfriends, children, all that sort of stuff, like, it would be a nightmare. For these guys at the age they were at to get 6 months together, to get closer than they ever have, where football was just the sole focus. I just wonder as time goes on if we look back at that period and go, fuck, that was perfect for this side.
For that specific age. Like, I mean...
Because they were all 23, 24. They were all young. They, you know, like... I had a look at the squad the other day, and at the end of that season, they let go of James Tarmo and Josh Mansell, the only older guys in that squad. So they just had this young crop that for 6 months got to live together, get to know each other better than any football team probably ever has. I just wonder if it favoured them massively compared to other sides.
Well, you could argue it's like a make or break time for any squad during that period. Like, if you don't take that time to get them as close as possible, you've lost an opportunity.
Yep.
Because you're never going to get a squad. Like, put it this way, I think in a perfect world, most coaches would just say, I would love my squad just to live together, like just day in, day out, so that I can, you know, we can control is a bad word, but we can control, you know, where they hang out, what they do. The more you can control, the better you're going to be as a club. Like, you know, that's why I always think that Craig Bellamy, his round 1 record is so good, is because he has full control up to that point. And then when a season starts, you just don't know what's going to happen. But it's a good point, mate. You know, they were at that ripe age where if you make these bonds for life, it could pay dividends, and it has. It really has. And then I think I always believe with the Penrith side, though, the one thing they do so well, and that is quite unique to other sides, is the whole for the area thing. Like, I can't recall another club in recent times having such a strong push of they're playing for the area. Like, there was never a saying around it. Like, and so I think they're playing for more than rugby league. They're playing for where they grew up and all that kind of stuff. And granted, I know clubs do talk about that. Like, it's always talked about, we want juniors from where we're from, all that kind of stuff. But I just think Penrith took it to the next level.
It's different out there.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And there's many reasons for that, considering the area a lot of the young fellas come from. But I think that they really did handle that correctly. And instead of letting it kind of distract the players, Ivan actually used it as a way to motivate the players.
Yeah.
Anyway, Trent Tolau, it's special. That's a special week. And that could be a career-changing week, because all of a sudden, if he keeps playing well in reserve grade, every single other club that's desperate for a 7 is going, okay. Because, you know, the same thing would happen at the Melbourne Storm. As soon as you were a good Melbourne Storm player, but you were behind Cam Smith, Billy Slater, Cooper Cronk, people would just swoop in and try and take you from the Melbourne Storm, because it was almost like a stamp of approval. If the Storm think you're good, you're good. And now it's coming to the point where if Penrith think you're good, you're good. And it's kind of true. It's kind of true. So he's our hungriest player, brought to you by Menulog. Use code TRENT for $7 off Thai food on Menulog, and minimum spend is $20. Minimum spend is $20, $7 off Thai food. Use code TRENT for $7 off your order. Minimum spend is $20. Massive thank you to Menulog for partnering with the show. Been with us for a few years now. They're almost like family. So get around them. They help bloke do what we do, guys, so get around them. Here is your KO can't miss. Damien Cook started. Lockie Eels finished it. A fantastic team try for the Charity Shield with 2 former Rabbitohs, adding insult to injury to their former club. That is your KO can't miss play, with Lockie Eels reaching out and just scoring by millimetres. And I'm sure the Rabbitohs fans sitting there going, ouch, just like they were watching Reynolds going, ouch. What about that Reynolds situation? Mate, geez, if I'm a Rabbitohs fan, I'm stinging beyond belief. Anyway.
How you feel about that one, Matty?
Yeah, no, it's what everything that could be said has already been said. Like, there's no point going back into it.
Every club has it though. Like, like it's happened at the Broncos. It's happened. Everyone's done it. You know. So
just before we get on to South, like me and Kat were there on Tuesday, and we left Tuesday afternoon around 4 p.m. And mate, the place was absolutely buzzing. Vibes were high. I was already high on them.
Yeah.
I walked out of there going, "Fuck, this is going to be a team to beat." 12 hours later, it just gets flipped on its head. It's amazing how much things can change.
Mate, the Rabbitohs the Rabbitohs right now are your KO can't miss side because of everything that's going on at that club. Incredible situation. Latrell goes down, Murray goes down. So make sure Rugby League is back in Vegas. The only place you watch all 4 Vegas games live and ad break free is on Fox League, available on Chaos Sports. Catch all the action from 8:30 a.m. from the start of the day this Sunday, where the likes of the Raiders, Warriors, Panthers and Sharks are sure to start the NRL Premiership off with a bang. Don't miss a minute of the action and get on board today at KO. Alrighty, let's get into it, shall we? Panthers defeat Manly 38-22. We've already kind of spoken about it a little bit, but I tell you what, this Penrith reserve grade side, their discipline, their ability to stick to the structures, their ability to almost mirror the first grade style of play, it's incredible. And I think that the one thing that the Penrith Panthers have identified is if we can just be fitter and faster than every side, the rest of the stuff will take care of itself. And that's what they seem to be. They just seem to be fitter and faster and stronger than most other sides. I say this all the time, but I just would love to see when their strength and conditioning program changed from what it used to be to what it is now, because they were dominant. They were absolutely dominant.
Mate, yeah, and it's how fit they are. It's also just they just seem to manage injuries better than anyone in the league as well. Like, they're just ticking so many boxes. It's unbelievable. And I see a lot of, like, especially in the junior systems now, in like Jersey Flegg and SG Ball in particular, you see a lot of clubs are trying to get the same or like similar game plans and plays that they do, that they get through all the grades, so that as guys come through, they're aware of them and stuff. Like, I look at Penrith, like, when you've got Isaiah Yeo and Nathan Cleary, they're one of ones.
Yeah.
How you can't emulate them in reserve grade.
Yep.
They each have to play their own style to some extent. But I think it is just because they're just so much fitter than everyone else.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you can try to emulate their game plan, but are you fit enough to do it? And I think that's what the Penrith Panthers rely on. They say, listen, you can have all the video you want on us, but at the end of the day, when you play us, you actually have to be fit enough to keep up with us. And I don't think honestly, like, it sounds silly to say and quite obvious, but I just don't think any team has finished a season as fit as the Penrith Panthers have. I genuinely believe if you were to take the Penrith Panthers and put them all through a fitness test and the rest of the comp through a fitness test, I reckon the Penrith Panthers would just win it. Over the last 4 years, I reckon they'd win it every year.
For sure, and I think that if they, the best sign of how fit they are is your grand final against them a few years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the biggest comeback in grand final history. I don't think it'll be broken, to be honest with you, unless it's them, because they're just, Brisbane were running downhill.
And it's a really good example of talent versus fitness, because that talent in that Broncos side was unstoppable. And we spoke about it before the game, and I got copped a fair bit of slack for it, but I said, if Broncos completed a high completion rate, they're a better footy side than Penrith Panthers, in my opinion, talent-wise. But there's more to rugby league than just talent, and Penrith Panthers prove that. Now, granted, I know people are sitting there right now going, come on, mate, you're not telling me that, Reynolds is more talented than Cleary. I'm not saying that, but when you look at that squad on paper, overall, at that time, they were a more talented footy side, in my opinion, but the Penrith Panthers were a bit mentally tougher and fitter, in my opinion.
I was at a luncheon the other day, and the guest speakers were Nathan Ivan, and a question was asked to Ivan about that grand final. They said, what was your reaction after Ezra scored his third try? And he said, I was pulling my hair out. I was really nervous. Then he said, I looked up at the big screen, and they had Nath's face, and I just saw in his eyes that he thought we were okay.
Yeah.
And it just calmed me instantly, and I knew we'd be okay.
Yeah. Far out.
I know it's easy to say after the event and whatnot, but I just thought, fuck, that's a lot.
But I mean, it is easy to say after an event. However, he did show that he was okay, because he was the one that ripped them out of that. Like, it was truly on his back, along with a big play from Critter, that really ripped them out of that situation. But what did you think of the trial, mate?
Yeah, I just can't believe how unflappable like the whole squad is. This is like basically essentially their third string probably side.
It's insane.
to be such heavy underdogs and just go out there, look unflappable, kind of step up and do their job. Like one thing I noticed as well, there's 4 guys in this team who had 100% tackle efficiency, and these are their 3rd string, 4th string kind of guys coming into the squad. Like to be able to, it comes back to, in fact, there was even more. There was 6 of them. There's a couple who only had a couple of tackles, but to come in and know their role, it seems like everyone's got a really clear role when they kind of come into the side. They were very impressive. I think, obviously, we've spoken about the number 7. I didn't mind the look of bloke I hadn't seen a lot of before, Zap Lipowicz. I thought he was good in the back row there. He was one of these guys, 20 tackles, none missed. Had up over 140 running metres as well. He looked like a handy little addition there. I mean, they're obviously pretty well sorted through the back row, but he was another guy that probably stood out to me as looked like he had a little bit of go about him.
Yep. Absolutely.
I think the 9 as well, Billy Scott. Anyone in the Panthers system will tell you how excited they are about him. I think he played in the trials last year. We haven't seen a stack of him. He's another one to keep an eye on. And Harrison Hassett, who scored a try in this one, I've always really liked him as well. But it's like the Australian cricket team. It's so hard to get into this Panthers side.
Yeah. Absolutely. I thought number 25, I know like statistically it wasn't like he was crazy. The nuggety bloke on the edge there, I thought he went hard. I liked him. There's something about him. It almost like it reminds you a little bit of the cheese with that nuggety build. What about Jenkins? I thought he was great. He basically was at the Knights, didn't get re-signed. He's been offered a lifeline at Penrith, and he comes out and plays like that. A bloke that couldn't get a contract.
He's a good player. I don't know what happened up at Newcastle. I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure how that all worked out, but he's talented. There always has been something there with Jenkins.
He was outstanding on the weekend. Like, and to think a guy like him can't land in a squad. Once again, though, Penrith Panthers, their ability to identify that they are clearly looking at markers that other clubs are not looking at. Yeah. Very similar to what the Storm did for 20 years and still do, is they're looking at something else that other people aren't. Like, for example, Scott Sorensen, he couldn't find a club and he goes there, wins 4 premierships. The one thing I think they have openly talked about, though, is one key priority for them is how fit the player is, which, makes sense when you look at the style of footy they play. But mate, his strength in contact, some of the big plays that he made, I thought he was bloody good.
Even a guy like Asu Kapawa, he played on the wing. Like, they signed him last year from the West Tigers mid-season. Like, he's not a superstar, but he can play second row, centre and wing. Like, just to have that sort of coverage that now you get to have him in their system for a year that they can mould him into what they want him to be. I think he has got plenty of upside as well, but I think that's just such an astute signing to go, if we do have injuries, this guy can cover 3 spots for us. Yeah. A perfect 17 to come off the bench kind of thing.
In the modern era of rugby league, to have a guy like him, it's valuable. Like literally can change your whole bench.
Especially as well, like when you're a team that fills origin teams year in, year out. Yeah. You need to have guys like that in your squad.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you're putting together a bench and you got a bloke that can play all those positions, honestly, he might be 80% as good as another player that can only play one position, but you pick him because he can cover so many head knocks, so many sin bins. Mate, he looks good as well. I thought the big winger that got the intercept, David Farley, he is big and scary, and I'm scared to see what that Penrith system is going to build out of that guy, because he looks like almost like a Talangi potentially, like that kind of big build that just eats meters up for fun. I thought he was pretty impressive.
He's had a good few trials, hasn't he?
Yep, 2 tries.
Yeah.
That was a really deft hands to get that intercept. I know he didn't end up scoring, ended up getting run down, but just a big body,
Another one there, Jersey 20. He had a try assist at one point. Jackson Edgar's another one coming through their system that I think's very talented, did very well in the junior grade. So, I mean, I think the reality is, boys, when you come out against a Manly, not full strength side, but a pretty good side, and you put a score on like that, you can throw a dart and hit just a good player anywhere in the side.
We'll put it this way: there's 26 players here, guys, on the NRL app. If you go to that and you look at the match center, there's 26 players here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Only 6 of those players have photos.
Yeah.
Now.
And, mate, Tom Jenkins only has one from 2 years ago.
Yep. And then you go across to Manly. Out of the 26 players, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 have photos. So you're looking at nearly 3 times the amount of people that are, and I know it's like a funny measurement, but it's these guys are so far away from first grade. When they do the media day at the clubs, they don't get invited because they're not needed for a photo.
Yeah.
That's how far away they are from first grade.
Mate, if I gave you no context and I said, this team features Leo Hopewade, Kohler, Garrick, Takiaho, Bullimore, Waddell, Nathan Brown, Jake Simkin, Cheekham, Chris Patolo, Toff Sipley, Aaron Shop, Vega, these are decent first graders.
And what's crazy with Manly is 2 of the players that don't have pictures are Wakeham and Cheekham, which are first graders.
Yeah.
Have played first grade.
Yeah. Chris Patolo's the same.
Yeah.
Even the only one in the back line that didn't have a photo, Nav Willett, he's killed it. He's shown that I think he's ready for first grade. He's just in probably the team with the most depth in the back line in the entire comp.
Looking at this Penrith side, there are genuinely only probably 4 names that you would know before that trial.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, Penrith must just be sitting there going, big tick. Think about how, because when you're Penrith Panthers, and you're going into a whole new year after you've just won the premiership 4 times in a row, really the most thing you're probably focused on is your reserve grade side. Because the first grade side, that is a premiership threat side. So it's that's going to kind of almost work itself out. It's making sure that the next generation is building on what has already been built, the foundation that's been laid. So really, really special times. I thought LeBlanc off the bench, did he come on at 9 and move to 6 or 7? 4, I think it was 14. Lamont. Zach Lamont. Did he come on at 9 and move to an edge?
I'm not entirely sure, sorry.
So anyway, I'm pretty sure towards the end of the game, he was playing 6 or 7. But yeah, I liked him as well. I thought he had some really good touches. He had some kicks as well, because only him. So yeah, there was only 3 people that kicked, and it was him, Scott, and Tolau. So yeah, he would have been in the halves at some stage, I'd say. And what does it say here? Is that 3? Oh, 3 kicks. I thought it was at 3:40-20. I was like, what the hell? I didn't see that. But yeah, it's just a really special time. And another a guy like Preston Rickey, who was a fringy, for a couple years. All of a sudden, there were honestly moments when I looked up and I was like, geez, that looks like Fisher Harris. And yeah, he played outstanding as well. 100 metres, 10 runs, 10, 11 runs.
Did he get player of the match in an All-Stars a few years ago, or did he scored a match winning?
He killed it in All-Stars.
Yeah.
But I think it was an edge back rower back then. He's in the middle now.
Left edge, yeah.
Yeah. Once again, Penrith Panthers system, shining through. So, just when you thought there might be a little bit of hiccup in the machine of Penrith losing literally the heart and soul that they built this dynasty around, or at least part of it with Fisher Harris and Luai, they come out and do this.
Yeah, and I mean, you have a look at like this game last year, Casey McLean was playing it. And he went on to score 4 tries for the Kiwis at the end of the season. This game 2 years ago, Lindsay Smith was playing it.
Yeah.
He's now a Kangaroos front rower.
Interesting about Lindsay Smith. So they're looking to extend him at the moment. I mean, what a year it's been for Lindsay Smith. Another guy that I really reckon a lot of other clubs would have overlooked Lindsay Smith, because just the style of play he has, it's not flashy. I say it's not flashy. He's actually got a highlight of a mad. The one was against the Broncos, was up in Suncorp.
Yeah.
Where he chipped or something like that. But I say he's not flashy. He does that. But he is the kind of player that can sometimes be lost in the noise of other players.
100%.
But we've been speaking about him for years now. When you actually look at his minutes and his stats, he's always actually got close to the most meters run for the Penrith Panthers. And just a massive reward for him to obviously be a part of the Australian squad, and they're looking to extend him at the moment.
Have you had him in here?
Yeah, legend.
Fuck, we played golf with him in the off-season. He was such a nice bloke. I thought, what's happened to front rowers? Yeah. He was just such a nice, genuine guy, so down to earth. He's just won a comp, played for Australia, and just so down to earth.
Honestly, if you were to meet him just normally, you wouldn't think that he was a premiership winning, because he's so chill. Just your average bloke. Yeah. Average bloke.
Mate, he's got a tattoo on his arm, and this was a few beers deep, obviously, but I think he's got a tattoo on his arm of a train. And I sort of said to him, and I said, "Oh, what's the meaning behind that one?" And he said, "Oh, mate, my grandfather came to every single game I ever played, but he was very old school. He refused to ever get a lift with us to the game, so he'd always get the train. So he's got the train tattooed on his arm to remind him of the effort his family put in."
Oh, that's sick. That's
just
good to hear.
Awesome.
Yeah. And again, it's a key to Penrith's ability to identify the right people at the club, because that's what they look at. It's what the Melbourne Storm have looked at for so long. It's so important to what they're building out there. So, I mean, look, I hope he gets the biggest deal he can, because he deserves it. He's been working super hard. And I think if you actually knew what he was on, I don't know what he's on personally, but when you look at that squad and how many superstars they've got in it now, I think people would be surprised at how little he's probably on at the moment.
Yeah.
And so, I hope he gets a good, decent upgrade.
And the scary thing is too, like, he's done incredibly well. Like, if Liam Henry did the same thing in the next 12 months, I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Penrith Panthers, they're ready and raring to go. Oh man, it's scary. I was actually saying on the way up to the Dolphins, massive thank you to the Dolphins for shouting us, for hosting us on Saturday. But I was actually saying, like, I genuinely believe the Penrith Panthers could field a B-side and they wouldn't win the Spoon.
Without a doubt, they wouldn't win the Spoon. Yeah.
I don't think there are any other clubs that would.
Imagine putting that side out there plus Dane Laurie, Schneider, Cole.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I reckon they could field 2 NRL sides and they wouldn't win the Spoon.
You get a McLean brother in there.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I don't think they'd make the 8, but I don't think they'd win the Spoon either.
I agree.
Okay, on to Manly. Look, we preface this, disclaimer, totally understand it's a trial. It's a trial. We get it, guys. But we have to work off what we're being shown here. Granted, such a key player in DCE, and the Trbojevic brothers not playing. I get it. But you would have hoped that it was a bit more competitive. And I know that they came back a little bit towards the end, but a little bit disappointing for Manly in regards to, like, you want to be rolling into the year with a lot of confidence in the depth you've got. You want to be rolling into the year with, you don't have to win, just a tight contest. So a pretty disappointing afternoon for Manly, even though there were some shining lights, in my opinion.
Yeah, as you said, mate, it is a trial. We won't look into it too far, but my biggest concern was the forward pack that they put out, and they just got absolutely rolled.
Like look, some of these, and granted, I know they wouldn't have played many minutes, but like Bullymore had heaps of meters, but some of these other guys, like, they were quite low.
When you look at Takiaho, Bullimore, Corey Waddell, Nathan Brown, Cheekham, Toff Sipley, like, probably outside of Cheekham, they're probably all going to be in their starting 17.
They shouldn't be getting dominated, that's for sure.
No.
And unfortunately, like, Penrith Panthers were just rolling through them. And I guess the concern, and it's a trial, but the concern is that if there is a weakness in the Manly side, it is the pack.
Yeah.
And granted, Seabold actually creates game plans around that. Like, he understands that as well. He understands that the pack isn't as strong as, say, a Broncos or a Penrith or a Storm now. However, you shouldn't be getting rolled by a reserve grade pack.
Yeah.
I don't even like. I know we sit here and go, oh, it's just a trial, but I don't even think Seabold would be sitting there going, oh, it's just a trial. I think he'd be pretty pissed at that in his forwards.
Yeah, I don't think he'd be stoked about this. And even, like, they had Jake Arthur at halfback, who Jake's not a star, but, like, he played in a grand final a couple of years ago. He's played a lot of first grade.
No, he's played more than Trent Tolau, that's for
100%,
sure.
Yeah. I actually thought his halves partner was all right, Dean Madison. I don't know if he's actually a 5'8". I think he'd be a really good lock, but I think he's a handy guy to have in your squad. I feel like, I can't believe he's playing in this, but it just shows the depth that Manly have. For Lehigh to not even be playing fullback in this game, to be starting on the wing, I find that insane.
Like, the only thing I can think of is because that he wants him to play wing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when I saw that as well, because I'm with you. I was
It has to be that.
On paper here, he's the fullback in this team, but maybe the only way they can fit him into the first grade side is on the wing, so he's getting some reps into him.
Because as soon as he went fullback, they started scoring points.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable.
So do you think there's a chance he'll get named on the wing for round?
I think so, yeah.
I reckon.
I think so. If he has played him on the wing to not name him round one wing, that is the most bizarre decision I've ever seen.
Okay, so what about, like, Tommy Talau, who didn't play in the trial last week? Jason Saab, who didn't play in the trial last week?
I think Saab's locked in on the wing for
So
sure.
do I, yeah.
And I think they're going to stick with Garrick at centres.
Yeah.
Then they'll go Cooler, and then probably go. So that would be Talau missing, I'd say.
So even though Talau hasn't played, like, if I was not going to pick Talau, I'd put him in the trials to see what he can do, wouldn't you?
Maybe he has a niggly injury or whatever,
Yeah.
maybe. Potentially. Or he's going to play on the
I
bench.
don't reckon Lehigh's going to be in the side.
You don't reckon he will be?
That's how I read it.
Yeah,
and
potentially.
maybe Tommy Talau does have a niggling injury or something, but
I think Saab is coming off an injury as well.
Yeah.
Like a niggling injury too.
Oh, yes, he is actually.
Right.
Yeah, what did he do last year? Was he Peck? No.
It was he got hip dropped.
Oh, so syndesmosis.
Syndesmosis, I think.
Okay. But,
I'll keep looking.
yeah. Okay, so he probably, if Saab isn't playing, then you put Lehigh there. In saying that, Seabold has had a history of this strange, like, not playing. Like, remember when he put Kohler back there?
Yep.
When Tommy was out, and then when Tommy came back, he did some strange movement. So he does have a history of making those decisions. However, for what Lehigh has shown, the only thing that makes sense is that he's going to start on the wing. It's the only thing that makes sense to me.
I think they just want to find a way to get him out there.
Yeah, get him out there.
Yeah.
Because I also think that they're just in this tough spot where he's coming off contract soon. You cannot afford to be playing in reserve grade.
I take out his contract. I just don't think they can afford to not have him. I think he's a freak.
Yeah.
So good. I don't understand how is he so strong? Like, how is he so strong in contact? He'd be maybe 85 kilos lucky.
What would you pay to get him in Canberra? Like, I know you've got KO down there who can play fullback, but if you could get Lehigh down there.
To play at fullback?
Sure.
Yeah.
Just to be in the sides somewhere.
I'd get him to play fullback. I'd probably pay 700, 700.
Yeah, I reckon, it's 750 maybe. Like, the Dogs are another team who need a fullback as well.
I reckon he'd get 7 pretty easily.
Yeah.
Once you get teams fighting for him.
For him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there will be teams fighting for him, absolutely.
There were complications during subs rehab. He only started running, I think, last week or the week before.
Oh, so it's definitely a wing thing then. That makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
So it'll be Talau and potentially, unless they move Garrick out and they put Talau centre, Kohler centre.
I don't think they're moving Garrick out.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
If you were going to, you would have done in the trial, right?
Yeah.
Like a Willett or a Vega. Like, they've been pretty good in the trials as well, out on the wing. You wouldn't think maybe one of those guys would get a...
Vega defensively can have some reads that are... I don't mind the other guy, though.
Willett is he's a bit similar to Salah, very tall.
Very tall.
Talau was very good last year, though.
He was.
He was sensational, and Lehigh's too good to leave out. Well, mate, if he was fully fit, I'd have him there round 1. But just if I'm Jason Saab, I don't know if I want to give these other guys an opportunity in my jersey.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good point.
Just quickly, Lehigh Hopewadi, so he didn't even start at fullback, had 4 line break assists.
Yep.
Like, this is the talent we're talking about here. 4 line break assists, and he didn't even start at fullback.
Term freak gets thrown around a lot, but
man.
he is genuinely it.
Because, like, I think freak suits him because he's not that big. But, like, anyone usually his size, you always go, oh, okay, in contact, they'll lose the battle. They're not going to be good in defence. Like, he's done multiple try saves when he played for Tonga. He's always winning contact, or at least most of the time winning contact when he runs the ball. And he just finds a way to get through the line each time.
When you consider he's from, obviously, a family featuring John and Will, mate, I reckon he's every chance to become the best Hopewadi. I reckon he's that good.
Yeah, well, remember when Will Hopewadi started playing, he was on a similar trajectory of like hype and killed it, was like absolutely killing it. And I'd argue that Lehigh is getting close to that similar hype in the first couple of years of his career. So it absolutely could happen. He's got the
Will
talent.
got signed 2 years in advance, didn't he? Because he went on a
he went on a Mormon
mission,
Mormon mission, or I think it was, let's just say it was a mission, whatever relation. I think it was a Mormon. And come back and was good to go. But yeah, another, I know they got dominated through the middle, but it was good to see Ethan Bullymore, 11 runs, 145 metres, had a line break, 32 tackles, only 2 misses, no errors. I just think there's a bloody good player in Ethan Bullymore, and I just don't think he gets used in the correct way. And I hope that Manly this year use him in the middle correctly.
He's a very unique player, isn't he? But for what he does, is incredible. The only thing I worry about, mate, is can they bring him and Jazz off the bench?
True.
That's my only concern. And
True.
Jazz obviously didn't feature in this one. But yeah, I think you'll have probably a Takiaho on the bench with a Nathan Brown. You probably need to carry a 14 unless it is Jazz. I feel sorry for Ethan Bullimore, but I'm not sure if he actually makes the side.
Oh, really? He was so good last year.
Mate, 100%, but I just
think there are so many clubs that could use an Ethan Bullymore. Like,
yep.
I think he's a bloody good player. And he's still not that old. Like, can you get his age up, please, Matty? And also, he suits the modern day front rower. That, smaller, more explosive, super quick for a forward.
25.
So, mate, 25 years old, like the best footies in front of him.
If you're not getting a start, mate, you look good in orange, white, and black. So reach out,
mate. He'd be bloody good at the Tigers.
Absolutely.
And he turned 25 on Friday, so he's just 25.
Oh wow.
Celebrate with a
Manly
meat pie.
was, like with depth, like if you have 2 injuries and you have to bring Ethan Bullimore into your side.
Yeah.
Very handy.
Very, very handy. Anyone else for you guys on the Manly side?
Pretty slim pickings. I was going to give Bully Moore a shout out as well. I thought he was pretty good in a pack that didn't go probably as well as they would have.
Falau just continues to kind of like show why he's so good in New South Wales Cup.
Yeah. I think the Takiaho signing is aging very well. He's looking a lot better than what I thought he would.
Yeah.
Upon his return.
Definitely doesn't look as aged as I thought he would. I thought he'd be kind of like when he came on, you could see, okay, he's a little bit older, but he's got that experience, so you keep him there, but he looks pretty good.
It was interesting what Tim said the other day, which I had no idea, but he mentioned that he reckons in the Super League he only played like 10 games, something like that. So he's fresh coming back. He's not as old as I thought he was. He's looking like a good little signing. I think there's a world where he could potentially start for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't think that 2 weeks ago, but after watching his first 2 games, I think he could.
You brought up Vunga, 2 tries.
Yep.
He can find the line. Geez, he is built like a brick shit house.
He's
he is
enormous, isn't he?
Thick as anything.
I think they got great depth in them. I mentioned Willard as well. Like both trials, those guys have both helped themselves to a couple of tries. Like, to Guru's point, I think Jason Saab would be spewing that he's might miss the start of the season, giving a couple of guys like this an opportunity.
We got Vunga, Willett, and Falau.
Yep.
All they're underneath everything.
Yeah.
That you got to deal with. So
and they do all the other stuff. Get a lot of meterage, all that sort of stuff as well. So some great depth there in the wing for Manly as well.
So a little bit of concerns with Paseka, but I'm hearing that it's going to be he's all good.
I think he's okay.
Yeah. But outside of that, look, as I said, it's a trial, but a little bit concerning that. Waddell I thought was okay as well. But just a little bit concerning that they got rolled as much as they did get rolled. You would have thought that they don't necessarily have to win, but just to get dominated through the middle like that for that, especially that first period. But they did fight back. It is a trial, and they are missing, if there is one team that, they have all their chips in 2 players, especially, obviously Jake Drogovic as well, but mainly Tommy and DCE, it's the Manly Seagulls.
Yeah.
So, you can kind of understand why they can go from, not so great to great because of that huge jump in DCE and Tommy.
I know, it's obviously not you have to do it, but I would have thought in these games, I would have given Luke Brooks an opportunity to play halfback in these games. When DCE, there's a bit of mystery around his future and whatnot. If DCE plays every game, Brooksy doesn't get many shots. And I thought the games that he did it last year wasn't overly impressive, to be honest. But
you mentioned it, but isn't this DCE situation weird?
It's
so that it comes out from essentially the club, or at least it seemed like it. Again, we don't know. It's always smoke and mirrors. You don't know what's really going on. But basically, that he's calling it quits after this year. Then he's come out and basically said, no, that's not the case. And also, could you get the quote up of what he said, the last thing he said? Because it was essentially he's open to other clubs.
I think he's had discussions with other clubs. I think he's
and so
open.
That suggests to me, again, guys, this is speculation. What is the definition of speculation? There's no evidence to back this up. It's just me having an opinion on something that's happened right now. That suggests to me that Manly have said to him.
Mate, I was at a golf day probably 2 months ago. I think it was in December maybe, and it was with the RLPA, so I was talking to players about what they're doing post-career, and Ches was there. I said, mate, have you thought about it? He goes, haven't even considered it. I've got plenty to go in me. I almost thought I offended him by asking him. I don't think he's stopping this year.
And that suggests to me that Manly have said to him, we're not re-signing you, which is and look, DC is the ultimate professional. He's not going to allow that to affect his footy, but that's a bold call.
I assume he's got an injury, but geez, I would have loved to have seen this Joey Walsh they're all talking about in these trials.
Okay, from
he's
England?
Come over from Rugby Union. Yeah. I assume he's injured not to feature in this.
Oh, sorry, is it from Union?
From the Tars? Is that
from
him?
the Tars. I said England.
Oh, sorry, no, he's come over from Union. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not sure where from in Union, but they seem to love him over there. But I can only assume he's got some sort of an injury not to feature in these ones.
I tell you what, that's to tap DCE on the shoulder. If that is the case, again, guys, I don't know that's for sure, but these things are all adding up. Have you got the quote yet, Matty?
Wouldn't it be interesting, if he does leave or whatever, and the Manly Seagulls have that much money, even just for a season or two, to go into the market and grab a halfback to say, hey, do you want to come play with Turbo in this back line? I'm sure there'd be a number of guys that would jump at that opportunity.
Surely.
Absolutely. It's just, who's that's the thing. There's not that many of them.
There's not many of them,
Great
yeah, for
number
sure.
sevens
Yeah.
floating around.
But there's also only X amount of teams that have got a squad that can probably win a comp. I'd probably put Manly in there.
Yep.
Okay, so basically, it's an article from February the 10th. Interestingly, the off-contract veteran, this is at the Herald Sun, fielded expressions of interest upon becoming a free agent last November. Evidence, Cherry Evans is the NRL's version of the NFL quarterback Tom Brady, who won a Super Bowl at 43. DCE said, I did have some options. Out of respect to the clubs, I'm not going to name them. I didn't want to shop myself around, so I only spoke to a couple of clubs that I felt I might have an interest to play for. I'm very happy at Manly, so I didn't really put myself out there, but the clubs I spoke to, I got a good indication of where they were at and what their futures look like. I'm leaning on the side that I would want to keep playing on. I'm definitely not leaning towards retirement. I genuinely love playing rugby league. I've still got the fire burning within. That to me, I can't believe that didn't have more press around it, because that's like, you have to remember, it came out literally that he was retiring after this year. But reports are DC is his last year. And even I think I do recall Seabold kind of alluding to that as well. And for DCE to come out and be basically like, not only is he not retiring, but having already spoken to other clubs. Put it this way, any other captain of a club, if it was a headline that they'd spoken to other clubs, I think it'd be a bigger deal. I'm just surprised this hasn't really, this is a headline and waiting for a journalist. If Manly struggled at the start of the year, it's just like, it's because DCE, the club, this, that, and the next thing. Now, granted, let me be extremely clear. Manly have to make a decision eventually. And if they have chosen to go in a different direction, you can disagree with it, but at the same time, you have to also understand where they're coming from to a degree. We'll know in the future whether it's the right or wrong decision, but I think we all can agree we can understand where they're coming from, even if we probably wouldn't make that call.
Oh, for sure. And mate, I've said it the last few years, Manly have a great squad. I come into seasons not thinking they're genuine premiership contenders. I tipped them to make the top four the other day. I personally don't think they're going to win a comp this year, though. And if you're paying that much to a halfback and they're still not, in my eyes, looking like they could win a premiership, you have to make these calls at some point.
And also the halfback is older, so it's like, at some, because the problem with retirement, it comes relatively quickly with a guy like DCE, because he's probably going year on year. And even though he's still playing the best footy of his career incredibly, he could genuinely just wake up next year and go, you know what, just not it. Like, look what was Cam Smith. Smithy could have gone a year around again, but he just woke up and said, you know what, probably not it. And it could happen the same with DCE. Yeah,
and you hear a lot of players that play 15, 16 years, like they sort of just wake up one day and go, oh, fuck, this is tough.
So although I probably wouldn't, I'd keep DCE around, I do understand where Manly are coming from to a degree, but are you guys surprised as me that it didn't kick up that much of a stink?
It didn't get much tension.
Yeah, now that we've reading that out, it certainly hits you between the eyes a bit more than I feel like we got the coverage at the time. But
I didn't even. This is the first time I'm hearing about it. I didn't even see it.
I remember him explaining. He was like, "No, I've still got plenty more footy in me. I'm still keen to go." He also said he's keen to play for Queensland again, as well as part of that. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested. Unless there's someone really good out there, they're going to get 4 or 5 years out of it. Number 7, I don't know. Would you really be that quick to move him on right now? Because there's not that many out there that are better than he is, really, at number 7, even at this age.
Well, see, I wouldn't, but it seems like Manly have already made that decision.
Yeah, I don't know if it's about finding someone better. I think it's about finding someone at better value, potentially.
And also, I think it's more alluding to your point, it's almost about rejigging their salary cap that isn't so dependent on 2 players. Because right now, essentially, all their money is in DCE, Tom Trbojevic.
Did he take a haircut a year or 2 ago?
I think he's still on. I think he's still on just under $1 million.
Yeah, but I wonder if he would be like, all right, sweet. I know I'm at the end.
Take
of
another one
now.
Yeah,
I want to win a comp here. I'll take unders to do it here. Like maybe that might be something he'd consider as well.
Maybe his manager though is like, no, you shouldn't take unders because you're still one of the best 7s in the competition potentially.
Yep,
that could be the shout. But anyway, as I said, I was a bit surprised that didn't catch more fire. But people just seem to be like, oh yeah, but DC playing for another club at this age would be shocking.
I just wonder if people just think, oh, he'll just never leave.
He'll just never leave.
He's Manly. It just won't. It just seems outrageous for him to go. But yeah, we've seen it numerous times throughout the history of the game. Like guys, you think, oh, they're one club players forever, and they finish somewhere else.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
In world sport as well, like.
But for me, if I'm Manly, if he's willing to play for like 900, 800K, I'm like, I'm sitting there going, who else am I getting for his talent for 900 or 800K, regardless of his age? I can understand if he was still on that whopping contract of like whatever, let's say it was 1.3 a year or whatever, I'd go, okay, like, mate, it's really hard for us to plan when you're on such a big wicket. But at the moment, it's easy to plan because you'd be signing him year on year. So you'd be signing 1 year deals. And if you're only getting him for 800 or 900K, you're going to have to pay a halfback that anyway. So that's what I'll be doing. However, I do understand Manly's perspective of they've clearly got a plan in place that we aren't aware of. So it's hard for us to make a judgment call on that because they might have a great plan in place.
Could the plan be Brooksy to 7, Turbo up into 5'8", Lehigh to...
I don't think it should be.
I don't think it should be, but that's what's been whispered is that potentially... Look, Brooksy has been at 7 for so long. I think that clubs... They do it to themselves so often where they go, you know what? Yeah, that club couldn't get the best out of him, but we can get the best out of him. And how many times have we seen that that's not the case? Like, it happens all the time where clubs go, no, we can do it. We'll be different. And it doesn't change.
I wonder if they're thinking, like, using that logic, if they're going, another year under DCE, we'll start to prepare him for it. Like, I wouldn't do it, but I don't think it's the craziest idea. I've seen wilder things in the NFL.
Oh, it's not the craziest idea, but I think the craziest idea is moving Tom Trbojevic in the front line. I think at 6, you could put him at centre because centre you're probably making 10 tackles a game.
Yep.
Move him to 6.
I agree with you. Yeah.
No way am I moving Tom Trbojevic to 6.
But when you've got guys like the kid from Parramatta that went down to Canberra, Sanders, you've got guys like Tom Duffy floating around. Like, there's a lot of young halfbacks there they haven't gone into the market to get. Yeah. Maybe this kid from Union is the one. I don't know, but they don't. It's not like they have a guy in waiting there.
Brooks to me is an out-and-out 7. An out-and-out 6, and he'll be an out-and-out 6 for the rest of your career, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
I do also see what you're saying. It's not we've seen crazier stuff. We've seen crazier stuff. Alrighty, before we get into Tigers v Eels, make sure to grab your grumpy coffee. I've already finished mine today. Absolutely beautiful. Today I had the very grumpy blend, which is outstanding, a darker roast. We've also got the everyday blend, which is a smoother roast, and we've also got pods. We've also got ground. We've got it all, guys. So go to grumpycoffee.com.au. Beautiful premium coffee, guys. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. If you've been thinking about it, Armin and Aaron, we've even got 250 gram bags that are much cheaper. Got it actually in front of me here that you can get a smaller bag to try out our beans to see what they're like. And as I said, we've also got ground and pods as well. Give it a go, guys. Good way to support the show. It really does help us keep the lights on here and keep growing as we have and creating more content. Plus, it's a bloody beautiful coffee. I guarantee that. Okay, on to the Tigers. Tigers defeat the Eels 30-18. And look, yes, it's a trial, disclaimer, blah, blah, blah. What I liked about this is the middles for the Tigers. I think Terrell May, for me, looks so... Like, the one worry I had with Terrell May was that he may rock up to the Tigers and get a little bit distracted and, he'd built such a name for himself. It's only normal sometimes for a young player to get a little bit distracted and maybe not commit as much as... And it takes them half a season to get back to where we know they can. Especially, how often have we seen a player leave one of the top-tier clubs, like the Roosters, go to, no offence, but actually the bottom club at the moment, and the standard of training is a little bit less, the expectation is a little bit less, and they almost fall into those bad habits. What I think is so exciting for Tigers fans is outside of Jerome Luai, Terrell May is your marquee signing. He looks arguably fitter than he's ever looked, and he looks arguably more, he looks more interested, probably the wrong word, but keener than ever to prove that he's supposed to be the big dog of a pack. I thought he was outstanding.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. He looks sensational. I think he'd have to be a short price favourite for a Dally M front row of the year, I'd say.
Do you agree that he looks probably fitter than he looked?
Mate, definitely looks fitter. If you listen to the way he's spoken in the off-season, like some of the training he's doing, I almost think it's ridiculous how much training he's doing for a front row forward. So he's a genetic freak.
I think that we actually haven't scratched the surface with him. I can't believe, again, very rarely do you ever see a guy go from the Roosters system into another system and become fitter. And that's not suggesting that the Rooster system's not good, because it is. It's just that Terrell May has made a point of his own to make sure that he's in the best shape possible. I think it's an outstanding sign for the Tigers.
Absolutely, very exciting. And when he kind of came to the club, there was a lot of clubs chasing him, but obviously, him and Luai come through a similar system at the Panthers, and we obviously don't know exactly what was said, but you get the sense maybe like Luai was like, come on, let's Let's come and show these guys how to do it. And I was stoked to get him at the time, and it was very exciting to see him have a run out there for the first time. But some very good signs. He was just you're spot on. I reckon he did look more interested than he has in the past, and he's got a bit of an axe to grind. So this is a big year for him. It was an outstanding start, and excited to see what he can do.
I thought he's partner in crime for Norbolo.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Unreal
I thought he was great. Like, he played a lot. They've used him a lot at kind of lock over the journey, which I know is, you can basically use them as another middle, but I think that spot really suits him.
You know what's funny is like we were all wrong because we were sitting there going, should you put Hunt there? Should you put Clemmer, put Twal there? And Benji, I know towards the end of the conversation last week, someone yelled at, was it you that yelled at Bolle? Someone, or maybe Rue? You mentioned Bolle towards the end, but I agree with you boys. I love it.
But to what Hammy just said, I've always thought lock is his best spot.
Yeah.
I think you're exactly right. I think you just get him going north and south with Terrell May, and it can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. I think he was outstanding. He actually ran further than Terrell May did on the weekend. He had 81 post-contact metres, 177 overall, but he just looked great. Nice, simple role. Did it really well.
It actually, funnily enough, it actually does sort the Twal Clemmer situation out a little bit because it says, okay, Twal, what's your best asset? It's your defence. Just clean everything up. Just tackle anything that moves. And they could probably work on his ball playing a little bit, but the one knock of Twal in the front row is like, does he have the punch to bend the line like Bolle, like Terrell May? Potentially not. Whereas it kind of sorts that problem and says, mate, you're just a tackle fiend. Just get out there and tackle.
Agree. And I think that there were some really good signs. Like, the numbers don't tell the full story, but Royce Hunt, I thought, really ripped in and ran the ball super hard when he came on as well. So if you've got him kind of playing that role off the bench, coming on and giving it a bit of impact, and then you've got Twal there to shore up the defence, all of a sudden Pole and May out there to start, it seems like a pretty well-rounded front row rotation.
I think that, so many teams in this comp run with the ball playing 13. Like, you don't have to do it.
You don't have to. Well, I mean, look at bloody Storm for so long.
Storm, like, I actually think it'd be a really good play for the Tigers to run with just 3 power forwards.
And you've got Appy as well, which changes that.
Yeah, but then you bring on Bird after 30 minutes. And I think then you put him into that 13 role there. I don't think you need to start with a link man. You've got Luai, you've got Galvin, you've got Appy. Like, I think they're okay. I would just play all through the middle with them.
Yeah, and I think, as we were just speaking about, like with Appy, if you're desperate to have a ball playing lock, you just get someone else to do the dummy half pass, and you just push everyone out one further, and you have your ball playing lock. It's either Appy, Galvin, or Luai, because you just need 3 people that can ball play across the back line or across whatever the set play is. It doesn't matter who it is, just someone that can ball play. And so if you have a set play, you just throw someone else in, a centre, a winger, to do the first pass, and that's sorted. So I agree with you, mate. Like, maybe you don't go down that route of like, we have to have this great ball playing lock, and you just go, we just need and what have we been saying in the Tigers' defence? We've been saying, pick the best defensive side. Yep. What is the best defensive side? It's actually having Alex Twal on the field.
On top of that, like, you got a running 6, a running 7, a running 9. You're sweet. Just win the middle. You'll be okay.
Yeah. It's some really smart decisions there so far from Benji Marshall, which I think it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. But I think he's even like Adam Dewey playing bloody
7.
He was outstanding.
40-20.
What the hell?
Couple of try assists.
Like, he must have, with all the injuries he's had over the last couple of years, he must have spent a bunch of time studying film. He can't run that much, but I'm sure he can walk through plays. He can get you can. While injured, you can still work on your ball playing, just not, at full pace. He looked levels above what he used to look like in the halves.
So it was really good for him too. When he used to play 5'8", it used to ship me to no end because he'd play on the right side and he couldn't really pass right to left that well. He'd play on the right side and he'd throw that cutout ball just about every time he had the ball. And I thought it was very premeditated. As you said, I think you could tell by his ball playing the other night, he did quite a bit of it down the left side, didn't he? At one point, he threw a really nice ball down the left edge. You can tell he's had a lot of time on his hands. Yeah. He's done a lot of work there. And obviously, Brett Naden, he went down injured. We want to wish him all the very best. But when you're watching the way that Dewey was moving, I was going, fuck, they've just lost Naden, who looks like he's had a huge preseason. I think they'll still be okay.
Yeah, Dewey looks outstanding. And Dewey's the kind of guy that would hear everyone talking about the fact that he's not in the halves. And that's an axe to grind for him because he's so competitive. He'd be like, all right, I'm going to go away and work my ass off. The really good thing for the Tigers, especially with Dewey, his ability, it looks like, to play halves. And granted, it's a trial, NRL's different, so we'll wait and see what happens with the season. But your depth in the halves is just like it's actually insane now because you've got Fainu, who was also, then you've got Dewey that can jump in there, Galvin, Luai. You just got
really screwed. You can play Bird at 5'8".
Yeah, like you've got a lot of depth in the halves. Whereas like a couple of years ago, literally like 24 months ago, you were scraping the bottom of the barrel if anyone was injured. If your first string went down, you were just struggling massively in key positions.
Yep.
What's Dream Buller's case? Is he going to be there round one?
I think so. I think they've just he hasn't played in the trials, but I believe he's going to be sweet to go then. I mean, Heath Mason's had some pretty good hit-outs, though, when he's been given a crack.
He's been better this year, Heath Mason, I think.
He has. Yeah. He's definitely... And I thought he showed some good signs even at the back end of last year when he got a crack. But it's a good thing for Dream Buller because obviously, he missed a little bit of last year with an injury. Before that, he probably wasn't at his best. He came good before he got injured, but it's good to have a guy snapping at his heels like this just to keep him, have a little bit of competition for that jersey.
Yeah, because although like Heath is good, solid, I just think that Buller, talent-wise, is at this stage anyway. Granted,
absolutely.
Mason is.
Yeah, no, I think he's 100%. Like Buller's right now, he's a better player for sure. And I think his first year he was a real breakout star. Just so much natural ability, so raw. He's obviously still learning the game, having come across from basketball a few years ago, which is I still can't wrap my head around.
Yeah, people don't remember that, but he actually was like full on a gun basketball player. Like was actually going to go to America for it and everything.
Yeah.
I remember when he debuted, people were like, where were you on this one? Going, he was at a different fucking sport.
Which is still your fault.
Still my fault.
Yeah. Should have been down the like a basketball.
Should have been at NBL 1. Yeah. Where were you?
Yeah.
Come on, Roo.
Mate, you're letting it go a little bit, mate, Roo.
But yeah, Heath, mate, I thought he had, to answer your question, like, let's say something did happen to Dream or he's not ready to go round one. He could play a role for you there for a little bit. He's shown it, and he's pretty versatile too, Heath Mason. He played a few roles last year, but he's looked pretty solid at fullback in the cracks he's had so far this year.
Yeah, and I agree with your point that what Buller does need is pressure. He does seem like a player at the moment that needs a bit of pressure. The last thing you want is a player with a bunch of talent at a club that's rebuilding with no pressure, because it's just you don't have to worry about ever getting dropped. If you start worrying about getting dropped, your form will improve.
I think as well, if he was to get injured or not be there, like Taruva would be the guy for me.
Yeah,
before Heath
Mason.
Sure. So depth is looking very good there.
Yep.
On the edge, our first real look at him, Seafarth. I really like him out there.
Yep.
I think he's going to have a good season.
Captain as well on the weekend.
Good to see.
Yeah, the big fella.
Yep.
There were just so many things to like about I know that we bloody wrap him every single time, but Lockie Galvin, seriously, he is just. There was a part of me heading into this year. He comes back. You've got the blonde tips. The swagger's there now because everyone knows who Lockie Galvin is. There was a little bit worried. It's only natural as a teenager. Everyone loves you. You take a little bit of a backward step, and the form drops a little bit, and then you bounce back the year after. But I think the difference with Galvin to maybe some other teenagers that may happen to is I think Galvin is obsessed with rugby league. Like I think he loves it. Mm-hmm. So even though he might have the little swagger or whatever, he's so obsessed with rugby league, it's not going to distract him at all because that's what he wants to do every day of his life.
Yeah, I agree. And I think as well, the swagger side of it, like I think that's going to become a bit of an aged thing in our game.
Yeah.
I just think times are fucking changing. And especially with him, with Jerome Luai next to him now, I think he's just going to lean the hell into it. But isn't it an incredible sign of the times that this kid can come in to a team that's won 3 spoons in a row, win a spoon, come back with the blonde tips and stuff the next year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's okay.
He's sweet.
Imagine that 10, 15 years ago.
Right. It's just, you wouldn't do it. You just wouldn't
hooked,
do it. Yeah.
Go get a haircut.
Yep. Like even like little things like he made 25 tackles and had 1 miss on the edge. Like that is not, if one of the best halves in the game was in an NRL game and they did that, you'd be sitting there going, geez, what a bloody good defensive effort. And just even that the last try, one of the later tries where, Galvin slices through, line break, an incredible offload, they pass it back in. Like that was Kelma Tuolangi that he bloody just sliced through. It wasn't just a little half that he was bouncing off. It was a bloody big back rower. And if you don't get good contact on him, he's straight through. And another guy that is deceptively strong.
Thought it was interesting. Jack Bird obviously came on, scored a meat pie, did well. His comments after the game that he sort of said, I want to play lock, but he sort of alluded to that Benji was going to bring him off the bench, which more so to your point, as I said before, I think it's a really good call by Benji.
Agreed.
I got everyone telling me he's got to play in the 13. I'm like, why would you put his body through the first 25 minutes?
At least at the start of the season.
Yeah.
You know, you need a guy in there that's literally durable as anything. And who is that guy? It's Alex Twalt. He's like so durable, it's a joke. And with Jack Bird, you know, keeping him on the bench, you can kind of play it by ear as to where you do put him on as well. Like, whereas if you start him at 13, he might be a bit fatigued, so you can't put him out the edge, or it almost like can ruin your whole system. If you take your starting 13 and someone gets injured and you go, all right, we'll plug the hole with Jack Bird, you know, you might not be carrying Alex Twal on the bench. Whereas carrying Jack Bird on the bench, like any club in the NRL would probably carry Jack Bird on the bench. That's how versatile he is. So I think he almost, in today's game, he like suits it. And
It's perfect.
he's perfect for it. And if he gets midway through the year, he's injury-free, he's getting through the minutes, then you can potentially go, okay, let's try and find a starting spot for you. But I wouldn't rush him into it, especially with the depth they got at the moment.
Yeah.
So are we happy with what we saw from Royce?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's good enough for me, yeah.
Yeah, he was kind of similar to Nathan Brown at Manly. Like he was doing a lot of kickoff returns and really charging into the line and just energized. Like the whole crowd and stuff just really got into it when he got his hands on the footy. So I was pretty happy with what I saw from him. Gerald Skelton, I thought, had another really solid game. I reckon he's probably locked down a starting wing spot for the season.
Yeah, I reckon the doggies are probably looking at that one and going, oh,
Yeah,
I wish if we had known what was going to happen with everything with the Fox.
Yeah. Especially the years they put into him as well.
Oh,
They've
massive.
been patient with him. The way it played out with Fox wasn't ideal.
What about his shot?
Oh, yeah. He gives me some real... one of my favourite players growing up was Taniela Tuaki.
Yeah.
He gives me some very similar vibes to him. Real big body out there, so strong. And he scored one try, had another one taken off him, but he's just going to be a handful, particularly on that left side. You know, left wingers out there to the left of Jerome Luai traditionally have done very well. I reckon he's going to have a big year out there.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Skelton this year.
I know we've already spoken about him, but just to reiterate the Bolle game for people listening, 18 runs, 177 metres, 81 post contact, 2 tackle breaks, 21 tackles, only 2 misses and no errors. Like, that's what you want through the middle. Those big numbers. Like, when was the last time, you know, Tigers fans could safely say both their forwards could potentially run for 180 metres today? Like, they just haven't.
Been a long time.
You know?
Are we assuming Clemmer's out the door? Are we?
With all the smoke around it, I think that's probably the case.
I think it's a good call by the Tigers. I don't think they're getting the best out of him. I think he's come to the back end of his career, which, you know, Father Time's undefeated. It is what it is. I think they're better off to lean into these guys.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, as long as they handle it all correctly and, you know, he gets treated properly, then, yeah, I can understand where they're coming from. You know, he's probably on a relatively decent wicket. You know, they are in a rebuild. Like, it's that simple. And it's like, well, you know, we've got this really experienced guy on the back end of his career, and he's had an incredible career, Clemmer, like an incredible career. But if you're in a rebuild, you may as well go all the way and just go, let's just get some young fellas some experience. And I'm sure that, you know, they've already almost got everything they need out of Clemmer in regards to his experience, like in all the lessons he would have taught the younger fellas now. He's been there for what, nearly 2 or 3 years now? 2 years?
2, yep.
So you get all the lessons, you get all the thing. Again, as long as they are very honest and are treating Clemmer correctly, like they're not dodgily, you know, telling him one thing, doing another thing, leaking stories, this and the next thing, then I can understand why they would want to potentially move him on. But as I said, as long as he's being treated correctly.
I reckon they will make a play for Spencer Leniu in the next year or so.
Really?
I know. Just they've always seemed very close to Terrell May over there. Him and Jerome Luai are obviously very tight. I don't know. We'll get to the Roosters soon, but I've got serious concerns about them this year.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
I can see that being a potential target for them.
How long's he signed for?
27.
Yeah, okay, so that kind of lines up. And I mean, the Roosters, if they're not happy, they'll be willing to release early. But yeah, anyway, back to the Tigers. Talon De Silva, his service out of dummy half is outstanding.
Yeah.
Like, really bloody good. He is improving. There was a period there I was like, I don't know, like, is he an NRL first grader? Like, you know, or is he one of those highly touted young fellas that it just doesn't seem to kick onto the next level? he definitely looked like a much better version of himself in these trials.
Yeah, definitely. I think with the ball in hand, really, really solid. I think they targeted him a little bit in defence and
sure.
he kind of dropped off a couple of tackles. If you have a look here, he missed 5 and he had 3 ineffective as well. So that's probably the one area of his game that he's got to improve. He's put on a bit of size even since this time last year, which is good, heading in the right direction. But definitely no question, I think, with the ball in hand. But I think the thing for him will just be continuing to improve with his defence, just so that he doesn't get steamrolled.
Look, as a number 9, that's usually the last thing to kind of click in again. I mean, even Appy still misses 5-6 tackles a game. Granted, it's Appy Coruscant. You look at his attack, it's all worth it. But he'll work on that. He'll work on that. But I think just ball in hand, his service was so crisp.
And he's just got real good knows when to run as well.
Yep.
You know, he's good at, he's probably learned that from Appy, just like knowing when guys are on the back foot or they're offside. He makes very good decisions there as well. So, I think he's, I know last year when I spoke about him, I was bullish. I was like, get him in there now, give him some games. You were sort of saying he's not ready yet, but I feel like he's kind of tracking probably where he should be in the next 12 months or so.
His development's been interesting to watch. Like, he played first grade and then went and played SG ball.
Yeah.
It was bizarre sort of how he's jumped around. I think it's just because he is stuck behind Appy and they're just trying to get minutes into him somewhere. But I agree with you. I think he's tracking very nicely.
Yeah.
In regards to the forgotten man kind of in all this is Latu Fanu. And he every time he plays, you can see glimpses of what he can offer. I'm really keen to see what direction his development, because he's brought across from Manly with his brother, really highly touted, and then the Galvin situation happens, kind of popped up out of nowhere. What I really do like out of Fanu is that it doesn't ever look like he's dropped his lip and he's kicking rocks and sooking. He's always had a crack when he's on. Like, I still think that he's got so much potential left in him, and I'm interested to see what is the direction that he and the club takes. Like, do they go, you could be a really good 14 and that's what we need right now? Or is he going to be like, no, I truly believe I'm an out and out 6. Like, I want to stay at the 6 or out 6 or 7, buddy.
Yeah, he'd be my 14 this year, starting for sure. Yeah, I think he offers a little bit, like he can come on and give you a little bit of, impact off the bench as well. He can play a number of positions as well, which I think kind of helps his case there as well, versus a De Silva, who's probably just an out and out 9. But phenomenal player. I reckon he's a great 14. I reckon that's where he
would you have him and Bird on your bench?
Yeah, I think you can, because I think Bird probably, yes, obviously he's got in the kit bag if you need to. He can go into the halves or the centres or whatever, but probably more of like a utility forward, if that sort of makes sense, back row or the lock kind of thing that we spoke about. I think you can probably carry both of them on there because they play different roles. And Bird obviously very defensively sound. Latu probably gives you a bit more in attack.
I guess with Terrell May being able to play such big minutes, it probably gives you the luxury of being able to do that if you want.
Yeah. But as I said, it's just going to be interesting because, okay, as a club, do you go, yep, we'll put you at 14? Or do you go, no, mate, we need you leading our squad round in New South Wales Cup, just in case, Galvin goes down and we want you as 6, and do we, you know what I mean? Like, there are 2 different paths that can be taken. Put a little bit of extra weight on, become a utility for us, or stay in New South Wales Cup and be the best 6 that you can possibly be, or 7, but I'm assuming he's probably more of a 6. That's what I'm really interested to see what happens there, because it could genuinely be career defining. Because, we've seen a bunch of number 6s be turned into 14s. Like, I think Connor Watson's a good example of that. Some other 6s I'm trying to think of. Connor Tracy was a bit of a 6 as well. Like Kurt Mann as well. So, a bit of a crossroads. So we'll see what happens. But he's got plenty of talent.
I think he could be a halfback.
A number 7?
Yeah, I think he could be. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he probably could be too. I just think in terms of how he gets into this team,
I
don't think he's moving Galvin or Luai out of there.
Sure.
So like, if he was still at Manly, I go, okay, I can see the
next thing. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, now on to the Eels. Look, I don't think there's much to worry about. It's a trial, all that good stuff. The biggest thing out of it for me, and I'll let Guru take this away, but it's Iongi. There was a battle for a jersey coming to this game, in my opinion. So someone left a comment, are you convinced now about Iongi? I was like, bro, I didn't say that, bro.
That was me.
I literally didn't say that. I said there's a battle for a jersey. Oh, the interwebs. It's the best, the internet. There was a battle for a jersey, in my opinion, heading into this round. Iongi took it with both hands, was absolutely phenomenal, in my opinion.
Yeah, he was really good, wasn't he? Just some really classy touches. That ball down the right edge, that cutout ball, fantastic. Obviously scored that great individual try. Also, just he stacks up a lot of meters too. Like he's got 126 meters here. I think he only played about 50 minutes or something. Like his
ball playing is smooth too. It's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I thought he'd be one of those fullbacks that had really good footwork, get 200 meters, and the ball playing was going to be something they'd have to work towards. No, his ball playing is good.
When he threw that pass to the right winger, I actually thought the winger had messed it up. I thought that the pass was too good for that winger. He managed to take it and score, but I think you can just see the vision he's got is something special.
Yeah, he took it with both hands, and I like to think that, granted, we're still a ways away from being sure that he can play better footy than Clint Gutherson and everything that Gutho brings, and Gutho was actually really good for the Dragons. However, to think that you can get a guy like Iongi and Joash Papali is in reserve grade waiting, like that is a special spot to be in as a club. Like those two boys are so talented. And so, I thought Iongi was outstanding.
Yeah, he was great. Lomax, obviously his first hit out. I didn't think he got as many opportunities as what we would have liked to see with Lomax, and I think that's just the reality of not having Dill Brown and Mitch Moses. I thought coming out of his own end, though, he looked strong, got a few penalties. Will Pensini, again, just almost the forgotten man of the NRL, just how young he is and what he achieves all the time. Now moving to the left side.
He's 21 now, I think, 22 max.
It feels like he's been around for 5. He sort of replaced Michael Jennings when he got...
Right, I'm telling you, no one appreciates how young this guy is.
22.
He's 22. He's played in a grand final. He might be the most undersung teenager, talent, that is currently in the NRL. Like, tell me another guy his age that plays as consistent first grade as him that isn't constantly getting raps in the papers and that. But Will Pensini, he's getting better each year as well. It's not like he's just stagnated as what he was when he was coming in at 18. Each year, I feel like he gets better. Like this on the weekend, he had bloody 130 run meters or something.
The beauty of him is that his floor is so high. Like with young guys, it's so easy to find the things they do wrong. He just never really gets it wrong.
Yep.
He might not have 9 out of 10 games, but he never has below a 7.
You never usually, now maybe early in his career, but he doesn't usually get a full-on bath from his opposition, whereas sometimes teenagers, they can play 4 good games and then they just have this Barry Crocker, as you were saying.
Well, not even teenagers. Like how many times have we seen it happen to Val Holmes in the last 2 years?
True.
Pensini, you just don't see it.
Don't see it that often. I'm sure you can think of, as an Eels fan, I'm sure you're thinking of a couple of games where it's happened, but again, as a 22-year-old outside back, to already get to the point where it's happening less and less and less, it's pretty good.
In a team that all we've said for the last few years is they lack outside backs.
Yeah.
Imagine if they didn't find him.
Oh, mate, seriously. And think about how good he's going to be in year 5 and 6. All that experience under his belt, he's just going to get better and better and better. I don't think we've seen anywhere close to what he's going to be towards the end of his career.
Yeah.
And so, once again, he had 12 runs, 130 metres, 55 post contact, 9 tackles, only 1 miss. Good knock from him. Iongi had a try assist, 12 runs, 126 metres, 7 tackle breaks, a line break assist, 6 tackles, 0 misses, and only 1 error. Jack Williams looks like he's in the middle there.
The best Williams out of Cooma.
Yeah, absolutely. Thoughts on Jack Williams?
Love it.
Yeah.
I've probably been a bit harsh on Jack Williams over the years just because I think his ball handling, he needs to get that sorted. But, mate, I was really impressed with what I saw the other day. He looks fit. We said it a few weeks ago, put straight into the leadership group. That says a lot to me when he arrives. I think he's in for a huge season. I think he'll start in the front row with Junior.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I reckon he could play 55, maybe 60.
Yep.
He looks fit and ready to go.
He is the one signing that can almost completely change their forward pack from, this is a bit light on and I'm not sure how it's going to go, to, this is a pretty bloody good forward pack.
I personally would start him in the front row with Junior, and I think I would limit Junior to 40 to 50 minutes of just impact.
Agreed. And I'd be waiting with Junior. I'd be building towards the end of the year, and if we do get into finals footy, that's when I'm playing Junior for your 55 to 60 minutes. But before that, I'd be trying to create a system where you're not having Junior playing. The fact that Junior started the year last year playing 60 minutes. Why? Tell me why. Why are you doing that with a bloke that's played so much footy? And, you're you could make the argument that because he's been forced to play so much footy, he definitely used to be in the top tier of front rowers, but because he's played so much footy, he's probably dropped out of that top tier. Whereas I feel like at another club, they probably would have managed him a little bit better because you've got to remember, Junior Paulo, he was in the same category as Adam Fenner-Blake, Payne Haas, Tarpaner, and ever since all that footy where he had to play like 38 games in the year and he's doing these big minutes, he looked a bit tired, understandably so.
That 2022 season, he played every game to the grand final. He played 3 Origins and he played the World Cup at the end. Insanity.
And then did some boxing and then came back and was playing massive minutes.
Yeah.
So I agree with you, mate. If I'm Riles, I'm saying to Junior, I just want a good 20 to 30 minute stint of just go as hard as you can, mate. We'll get you off and then we'll just bring you back on for another 20 minute stint.
The one thing I'm hoping with Jack Williams is that their edges I find very interesting. I had Kelmer locked in to explode last year. I thought he was very average this week. I thought he was average enough that you question if he gets that jersey round.
That miss on Galvin was like,
you
just can't. You just cannot do that.
And I understand sometimes the game doesn't go to back rowers, but one run for 7 metres, you just can't be doing that.
Yeah.
There's just no way. So on the left edge, I'm not sure who it's going to be. I think this Katoga's a good chance to get that spot. He was pulled from the trial the other day. He actually rolled his ankle during the week. But from when he rolled his ankle, round 1's 3 weeks away. They're the last game Sunday afternoon. I reckon he'll get that left edge spot. I just hope he doesn't look around the room at Bryce Cartwright, Maddo, Kelman, not be happier with any of them and put Jack Williams on the edge.
He can't do that. Jack Williams has got to be in the middle.
I agree with you. I'll be very disappointed if that does happen.
Mate, if I'm not happy with a bunch of blokes, I'm just picking the best defensive edge. Yep. Like whoever is the best tackler in defence, that's who I'm picking.
Yeah, well, it's going to be an interesting selection, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I agree with you, mate. How do you think the Eels went, mate?
Yeah, well, you've touched on some good performances there so far. We touched on him last week a little bit. Luca Moretti, I thought he was pretty good when, I don't think he missed a tackle. Ran pretty well as well. Didn't play huge minutes, but I don't know. I think he's another good little option and maybe a little smoky to get a little bit of time potentially through the middle.
What about Dory? I thought he was good.
Just on Moretti, I reckon he will land on the bench. He's just got the right amount of lunatic in him, which I like. He's just got a little bit of the Nathan Browns. I'd be more than happy to bring him off the bench for 25, 30.
Could Dury be a smoky for an edge? I thought he was pretty good on the weekend.
He was good in this game. I've never overly seen it with him over the years. I see people really wrap him over the years. I've never seen it myself, but on the weekend he was good. Mate, I think it's wide open between Geimer, Dury. I think there's... I think they're 17, well, not so much their backline, their forward pack and bench could be the hardest to predict out of all the teams. I reckon Riles could go really rogue here. Is Madison a certainty?
I don't know.
He doesn't look overly keen on him to me.
Yeah.
Sean Lane's out until round 4, I think it is. So, you have to pick someone there. He doesn't look overly keen on Bryce Cartwright.
Cartwright had 4 runs for 32 metres. Really, the standard... Matt Dury had 11 runs for 115 metres, 54 post-contact, he tackle break, 28 tackles, only 2 misses.
Mate, I reckon Riles is... And I thought it would be Geimer. It might be Dury. I think he'll go whoever's the hardest worker. I think he's shown that with Jack Williams.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you in the leadership group
Rewarding
on arrival.
work.
And Matt Dury had no errors as well.
Yeah.
So, maybe, potentially. I agree with you. I think we spoke about it last week, but I think there's going to be some shocks in that Eels side. And I think Riles as a new coach, I think you'd be silly not to. You've got a bit of grace at the moment as a new coach, rebuilding, all that good stuff. Mate, take some risks while you can. On
that note, I don't know what the situation is with his contract or whatever, but find a way to do it this week. Get Riley Smith in your 30, make him your 14.
Mate, it has
to be done.
He's some of his scoots out of dummy half. Whew.
He's exactly what we've been talking about that they don't have since Josh Hodgson got hurt.
They need to lock him down immediately because, Lussick, hands, good, solid fringe first graders-ish that could potentially develop into good first graders. But you got a guy like Smith coming through. He's already looking more electric out of dummy half at a young age. Granted, I understand that there's probably other parts of his game he needs to work on. But when I saw him in dummy half, he looked the most natural dummy half out of anyone that I'd seen at the Eels for a bit. And
I hear people say, Hands and Lussick, they're good in defence. Riley had 31 tackles, 0 missed on the weekend. I think he's the best hooker at the club right now.
Yeah, it's it's not a bad shout. I think, put it this way, if he was, let's say he was 50 games in and 23 or 24, and you were just picking off pure form in these trials, I think he'd get selected. I think the only thing holding him back is everyone goes, oh, he's young.
He's young.
He's young. And I don't, has he played first grade yet and all that good stuff. So, look, the exciting thing for the Eels, though, is that at least they got someone there that potentially could take that spot in the next couple of years.
Out of the Penrith system too, in no shock to anyone.
Yeah, no shock. Far out. Alrighty, on to Dragons v. the South. Before we get into it, though, grab some grumpy undies. Go to bloke.shop. Premium. Absolutely outstanding. Well, we got a perfect cut. So comfortable. Anti-chafe. Everything. They're really, really good undies, guys. Give them a try at bloke.shop. All right, Dragons v. South. 46-26. And this could have turned into a bloodbath, but South fought back towards the end. But how quickly hope and excitement a season can start. And granted, look, there's still plenty of time. They can come back. But it is, if there were two players that you would say, please don't let anything happen to, it was literally Latrell Mitchell, it was Cam Murray.
Yep. And then I guess the other guy that they're kind of having a bit of a wait and see on, we hope this guy works, Lewis Dodd, is now on report for a high shot as well. So, yeah, it hasn't been the best start of the year for them. And we were also high on them, weren't we, a couple of weeks ago? A lot of us had them as the most improved team or making a charge at the 4.
I genuinely believe that affected their performance on the weekend.
Without a doubt.
I reckon that they just were so flat by what's happened that they came out and were just extremely flat.
And I reckon Wayne would have been okay with it on the weekend. I think he knows how flat they would have been.
Get him out of your system.
Get the stinker out of the way.
Yeah.
Mate, they're going to run out with such an odd-looking spine for round 1. I'm so confident Wayne gets them up for that Dolphins game.
Could it be the return of the great Bud Sullivan?
Mate.
I know Humphries, obviously we'll get to Humphries, but
But Cody Walker's under a cloud.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Could you imagine if this is the way Bud Sullivan starts his redemption arc?
They
Incredible.
were rapping him big time at South the other day, saying how well he's going. And I thought in the All-Stars the other day, I didn't think he was overly great, but I thought in this game he was good, and they think he's doing well over there.
Now, I tell you, a bloke I want to rap, Humphries, Mr. Bridgerton himself, looks like he's in every single period piece that's ever been made. Seriously, you could just take him, put him in a period piece with his little curly hair, and put him in a little dapper suit, and he'd fit it perfectly. First of all, what are they feeding that kid? Because he is jacked.
Yeah.
And he is hot. And he can play rugby league. I think the biggest win, arguably, for any club out of the weekend is Humphries announcing himself. Now, we've been high on Humphries for a while now, and almost a little bit surprised that he wasn't higher up on the pecking order. I mean, he may get that jersey and not give it up because he was phenomenal on the weekend.
Honestly, that Charity Shield could be career-defining for Dodd one. I don't know if he's going to get that jersey back.
Humphries looks like a problem.
Yeah. 100%.
And a very unique player too.
And you know what? I think if Dodd would have played well and maybe they leave him out there, maybe they give Humphries a shot at the 9 jersey. And I think that could have spelled trouble for Pete Mamazelis. I think this is it could be a career-defining trial for Dodd and Mamazelis and Humphries, obviously.
It honestly could be a club-defining trial because Humphries could be he wasn't just good. He came on the field and tore them apart. And, you might go, Dragons are taking their first graders off, whatever. He's a reserve grader. He is also a reserve grader. If he's playing that much better than other reserve graders, that makes him a first grader. He was outstanding.
He would be my halfback for round 1.
He's not going to be spotted up in defence. He's big, he's strong. He's going to be great with the ball running. And heading into round 1, Wayne's going to simplify the game plan dramatically because you've got all these key guys out. So what do you want? You want a 7 that can run the ball hard and tackle hard pretty much and kick. And that's what he offers, Humphries. He was phenomenal. He was absolutely phenomenal. And look, him with Bud Sullivan, 6 and 7, if Cody Walker can't make it, there have been worse half pairings that have done bigger things in the NRL, to be honest.
Mate, I think Wayne would be so excited about that. How do the Dolphins prepare for that?
Yeah, how do you prepare for that?
I think Wayne would be, then he wouldn't be happy with the situation, how it's all played out. As far as round 1's going, I think they'll take a lot out of that second half, and I think they'll be well and truly up for that game.
So, interestingly, Humphries was named at 14, which I think kind of shows you where they might have been putting him round 1 if everyone was fit, potentially as a 14. But he came on. He had a try. Sorry, he had a try, 2 try assists. He had 12 runs, 86 metres, 3 tackle breaks, a line break assist. But here's the most interesting one. 28 tackles, only 1 miss. 3 kicks, 81 metres.
What do we think the plan was going into this game? Do you think the plan was for him to play a bit of 7 or to play 9 and then the...
I reckon 9.
And, yeah, so do I.
I reckon that if everyone was fit, round 1, he would have been 14 jersey.
Yeah.
And I reckon that they were probably looking at how are they going to balance him and Mamazelis, and also, pressure on Mamazelis of like, how is Mamazelis going to play? But he was outstanding.
Mate, I think that high shot and that sin bin's going to be borderline career defining for Dodd. I think it's going to make life really hard for him now.
Some positive as well for the Rabbitohs is Mamazelis, 43 tackles, only 2 misses, which is like, we know he's really crafty around the ruck, Mamazelis. The question is obviously as a young fella and being a bit smaller, it's the defence. But mate, you're making 40 plus tackles and only missing 2. That's a pass mark for any number 9 in the competition.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's a big win for the Rabbitohs.
I thought their middles were looking good as well. I know they got played off the park early, but I think both Kepi and Moali are looking better than what they were last year anyway. Moali in particular, I think he looks good. I
think Kepi and Moali might be real Wayne projects.
Yes.
Especially, like, Moali was still in a part of his career where he's developing into, he's super young, whereas I think Kepi might be a Bennett specialist because being in the NRL for quite a while now, got so much talent. One game he's a 9 out of 10, the next game he might be a 6 or 7. There's always been potential there, and we've always been high on him coming to the Rabbitohs. But I think you go back and you look at Marky Nichols, who was probably in a similar situation that Kepi was when Wayne came to the club, and look what Wayne managed to do for him.
Yeah.
And I think Kepi, it's now or never for him because the problem for Kepi is there's all this talent, but he's almost similar to the Schuster situation. Obviously, nowhere near the same dire situations.
Yeah.
But what a lot of clubs will look at is Kepi. If Wayne can't get the best out of you with all your potential, I don't know if we can. And so I reckon we're going to see a big year from Kepi. I'm happy to eat my words. I ate my words last year. I was wrong, but I reckon this year's going to be the year.
What's doing with Totola, Matty? Are we expecting to see him round 1 or?
I haven't heard anything. Yeah, I'm not sure. I assumed he was good to go.
Mate, their injury toll is like over the last couple of years. Jeez.
Yeah. No doctor, no sports scientist, but like surely when you look at what's happened to South Sydney in the last 2 or 3 years and you look 50 Ks to the west at Penrith and what they're doing and what they're achieving and how their guys just are very rarely getting hurt, and whenever they do, they come back early. Their re-injury rate seems to be a lot lower. Like, what's going on at South Sydney? It has to be turf or their train. There has to be a reason for it, right? Like, you don't move. Once again, don't know what it is, but you can't throw your hands up and go, fuck, we've been unlucky. It's past that, I think.
Well, I think, the Roosters had a similar situation as well when they just kept getting ACLs and I don't think it's anything particular they're doing, but you'd be crazy not to look at it and go, what are we training? Are we doing too much repeat speed efforts? Are we, are there certain things we're doing too much? I'm not sure, but Jesus, a lot of injuries.
That's a lot. And like as I said, I was there on Tuesday. Like that training facility is beautiful. It's fantastic. But like ever since they've moved, it has just been utter chaos. How do you feel about it, Matty? Like,
oh well, I mean, I hope it's all a big coincidence, but that's an easy way of looking at it. Ever since they've gone there's been so many long-term injuries. Like just right now, Arrow, Havili, Totola, Walker, Graham, Johnson, Latrell, Aiken, and Murray. Like that's most of the top team. All have injury clouds.
Second year in a row.
So Aiken, he came to the club with an injury.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. Yep.
Latrell, I don't think that's the club's fault. Latrell has had hammy issues for a bit.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And I don't think anyone's saying it is the club's fault at all.
No.
It's more of like, let's look into this. Like, why is this happening? I'd love to compare their numbers, their average over the last 5 years or since they arrived at the new place. And I know it's a weird place to start because it's like, what does the new place have to do with it? But it just seems to have happened when they got there. And I'd love to compare to their average compared to other clubs to see if do we take more notice of them because they are the Rabbitohs? They're one of the biggest clubs in the NRL, and they have these big superstars, or are they genuinely, on average, over the last 5 years, do they have more injuries?
Well, I think as well, like if you look at the list I just said, Campbell Graham, Latrell, Cody Walker, and Cam Murray, they all got injured at training. So I think that's kind of alarming as well.
So Latrell one, I feel like you can kind of like put to the side because he's had hammy issues. Like you go all the way back to that crazy time he did his hammy when he got bent real weird.
Para, yeah.
And when you do your hammy, it's like they're very hard to like. Look at Bradman Best, for example. He does it. Whereas you look at the Totola one. What's the Totola one again?
The Totola one's murky.
Murky?
I'm
the
not
Campbell
too sure
Graham one is just a contact one, so that's not. Oh well, actually no, he's past that, isn't he? What's his new one?
Yeah, broken hand.
His hand's broke. So that's a broken hand. You can't help that. You know what I mean? So like it's a like, how can training affect how can they stop a broken hand from happening? The Cam Murray one's an Achilles. Is it a full on snapped Achilles? Because they weren't real clear.
It seems like it. He's going to the surgeon and they'll get the return to play.
Jeez, so much hope. Just the good thing is both those boys will be back by mid-year at the least. You're just assuming
Cam Murray's.
Cam Murray.
said 10 to 12 weeks.
Best case scenario. Oh really? I saw 5 months. Best case scenario.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think Cam. Yeah, I don't think Cam Murray's going to be.
Well, if it's 5 months, that's a full-on Achilles snap, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's what it sounds like.
Wow.
We'll wait and see.
Because the NRL physio said it's one of the easiest ones to diagnose. And the South statement said we don't expect him to play in coming months, so it didn't look good.
Jeez. Again, though, like how do you can never predict an Achilles tear. Like that's just, those things just fucking go. Yeah, anyway.
It could just be down to completely bad luck.
It could be.
It probably is, but it is there in front of us, so that's why.
I think when you have a look at that thing that Physio posted last year about the amount of games missed, like I think between Penrith, who were first, who had the least amount of games missed, and the Warriors, who I think was second last, there was about 150 games. There was 100 games between Warriors and South Sydney. Like it's absurd.
Yeah, wow. Jeez. Okay, so, at least had some good performance on the weekend. Now, onto the Dragons. Man, look, I know it's only a trial, but it's getting very hard to stick to my season prediction with the Dragons, thinking they're going to struggle in attack because they looked unbelievable in attack. And granted, I know that the Rabbitohs were missing a couple of players. I get all that. But, mate, they look slick as anything. Like guys like Moses Sully looked friggin' the fittest I've ever seen him. I mean, you name it. They all killed it. It was an amazing performance.
I think it's worth noting with these trials. I think that some of these trials mean more to some clubs than they do to others.
For sure.
I think these trials have meant a lot to the Dragons, 100%. But I tipped them a few weeks ago to be 9th, 10th. I stand by that. I think they're going to be a hard side to beat. And you have a look at, like, Finau scored 4 tries on the weekend. Like, I assumed Tui Pelotu was going to be on that edge. I'm not sure when he's due back, but I don't know how he's going to go getting that jersey back. The kid scored like 6 tries in 2 weeks or something.
Yeah, and he also ran for a bunch of meters last week as well.
Yeah, he's been very good.
See, I've got him a bit lower than you. That's why I'm like, oh, shit. Because I'm just really worried about the halves pairings so similar heading into this year. And my concern was like, where do the points come from with those halves pairings? But look, don't even look at the result. Just look at the style of footy they played. Like they were expansive. They were stripping them of numbers. And that's what's impressing me so much. It's a trial, so I don't care about the result. It's like it's the style of footy they're playing. I didn't think they had that in them. Yeah. And so I'm sitting here going, mate, maybe I need to readjust my prediction because, obviously I'm going to stick to it. It's only one game, but it's getting hard to stick to it when they played that expansive.
Absolutely. That back line is coming together really nicely. Tully and Holmes as your centres is that's almost one of the better centre combos in the comp based on particularly how Sully's been tracking over the last few years. Yeah, really good. The wingers as well, Finau and Finai, both very solid. I reckon the one that caught my eye in this time was Emre Gula, come up from the Raiders.
Yep.
Just sort of what the doctor ordered. He ran, 122 metres, a solid knock, 22 tackles, didn't miss one. That was an area that they were lacking a little bit in the front row department. I think he's a great pickup.
You mentioned Val Holmes there. I'm very keen to see this year if his defence changes under Flano. He made 3 tackles yesterday just because South Sydney didn't have the ball to run at him when he was on the field. 3 tackles, 4 try assists. More try assists than tackles he had yesterday.
Fucking hell.
It's just insane.
And also, like, their 2 centres ran for 164 metres and 150 metres. Like, that's probably the most combined of any centres in the trial weekend.
Yep.
Like, Moses Sully was a wrecking ball. So, yeah, he had 14 runs, 150 metres, 51 post-contact, 6 tackle breaks, a line break assist, 2 line breaks assists, 2 offloads, 9 tackles, only 2 misses, and no errors. Like, we always talk about how underrated Moses Sully is, and then you pair him with Holmes, and all of a sudden there's an argument to be made they got the best centre pairing in the competition, at least up there.
I think Sully got a little boost pre-game when he found out he was in my Supercoach draft team.
Oh,
okay.
So that'll put a pep in anyone's step.
That makes sense. But yeah, as I said, disregard the result, but just more look at the style of rugby league they played. It was expansive. It was entertaining. They were willing to throw that offload and, spin it out of their own end. I'm shocked that, it just happened so simply for them. Like, they just worked together. So, who knows with the Dragons? Seriously, who knows? Because even last year, they were seen as like a gritty, tough team you'd have to go and almost like fight in the mud to get a victory over. If they can add that grittiness with this expansive style of footy, they might actually have the points in them to take it to a few teams this year.
I think they will, and I think you got to add Jacob Little to that side as well. He'll come back over the next few weeks, which means you free up Damien Cook. I personally think he's a very good nine. I think at this point of his career, he's more valuable to the Dragons in that roaming sort of 13 role. But I think once you add Jacob Little in, I think it just adds another dynamic to this side.
And Cookie, 36 tackles, 0 misses. Just a part of his game that doesn't get it. We always talk about Damien Cook's running game and his attack. 36 tackles, 0 misses. Bloody hell.
And that's where you look at the changing culture that Flano's got now is that, he's gone from his team being built around two guys that didn't want to be there to now two guys that are just, their entire careers are built on effort. And it's just Flano down to a T.
Yeah, there were 3 teams this weekend that really made me question my thoughts on them prior to the season. Dragons, Titans, and
Newcastle.
Yeah. And just because, and it's not because of the result, because it's a trial. It's more because I feel like all those 3 teams, we saw the vision of the coaches of how they want to play and the style of rugby league they want to play. For example, the Titans, you could see, this is what Desi is trying to put together. He's trying to put together 3 live wires that just hang around the ruck and just torment sides.
Yep.
And then you look at the Dragons and you're like, okay, this is the style of footy I want to play. 2 centres that are dominant, get the ball to them, something will happen. And then obviously you look at the Knights and you saw how Kalen Ponga was absolutely electric, Bradman Best. But yeah, and also I think you saw the impact of Gutho at the back there. Just his impact to drive the team around, talk to the boys, get them where they need to be. Because they've gone so many years with a fullback that's a rookie that notoriously is not known. He's developing his game. So he's not going to be able to tell the front rowers, halves or whatever where to go. Whereas for the first time the first time in a very long time, they've got an experienced fullback behind the line that's directing troops.
Yeah. And I think as well, the biggest indication, this Dragons team scored 46 points. Between Flanagan and Ilias, they had 1 try assist.
Yeah, which
they
suggests
did their job. It's all they had to do.
Exactly, and that's what I mean with disregard the result and just look at they're playing what it looks like the coach is envisioning. I don't think Shane Flanagan is sitting there expecting Ilias and Kyle Flanagan to be top of the try assist charts. However, I think he'd be pissed off if Gutho or one of his centres aren't close to the top because I think he's going to rely on them to get the points or the try assists. I thought Couchman had one of his best games. I thought he was really good. Sorry,
player, man.
Which one? Sorry, I've got it
They're
up.
both mad, but I think you're talking about Toby. He was very good yesterday.
Where is he?
Okay.
No, I'm talking...
Ryan?
Ryan?
Talking about Ryan. Yeah, I'm talking about Ryan. I thought Ryan was bloody good on the weekend. Bloody good.
I think I'd be finding a spot for both of them.
Yep. So 13 runs, 116 metres, 38 post-contact. Offload, 31 tackles, only 1 missed. So I thought he was good. Leilua, I know statistically, didn't, set the world alight, but just his enthusiasm. Doesn't he look switched on and engaged?
That left edge, on the days they're on, is going to be a nightmare.
The left edge, on when they are playing to their ability, can go with any edge in the competition, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think they will go with most teams.
Yeah, so really, really good performance for the Dragons. Just trying to look at some other...
Just on Sully too, before we move off him, I think, we always talk about it when it comes to state of origin and where you pick guys and whatnot. And I think a lot of people at home just, you're playing left centre, you can play right centre, you'll be right. It's so much fucking harder than that. And for this guy to transition from a guy that I wasn't sure if he was going to be a consistent first grader in 2 years to one of the better left edge centres, then get shoved over to the right. I know it's only a trial, it's early days, but I just have full confidence in him.
Yep, absolutely. He's been pretty much since arriving to the Dragons, he's been Mr. Consistent.
Yep.
every time he's played, he's given you a good solid 8 out of 10. And yeah, I think it was 1 year early on, defensively, reads-wise, he was a bit off. But outside of that, like, he's been super consistent.
Imagine if 3 years ago, someone would have called him Mr. Consistent.
Oh, mate. Give me a break. You just would say no way.
Like, with all due respect, like, the Tigers couldn't get into training on time.
Yeah.
Crazy, the way that he's turned it around has been incredible.
Absolutely. He's got one of the great stories because he, by all measures, his career was done. He was going to bounce around a bunch of clubs. He was going to go over to the Super League. Like, that's the usual path for guys that go through what Sully had to go through and everything. For him to come out the other side, we've spoken about it quite a lot, but it is a testament to his character that he said, nah, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm not going to be like everyone else that, is similar to me with a bunch of talent but just bounce around clubs. And he's literally turned into Mr. Consistent.
If there was like, a checklist of red flags, he would have ticked it a few years ago.
Yeah.
Just about everything you could.
Yeah, like he would be sleeping in his car. And granted, he had some really bad, terrible things going on in his personal life. And that's, usually when things are happening like this with young men and women, it's usually stuff at home that's making them feel negative like that. But he showed the strength to push through that and
100%.
become a better version of himself. So, it's just great to see. In regards to other guys, like, DeBellin's doing his job. Sua's doing his job. I think Emre Guler, I agree with you, Hammy, like, just what a shrewd pickup from Flanagan. To go to the Raiders, find a guy out of not one of the glamour clubs, but out of a club that has one of the best packs in the competition and go, well, you can't make this pack because it's so good. Come to our club and we'll give you an opportunity. He was bloody good.
Yeah, I think he's been kind of underrated for a while. When he first burst onto the scene a couple of years ago, he was great. So good to see that, he's still got it, clearly. And, as I said before, I think it's a great pickup and he'll be great for the Dragons this year.
What do we think of Sloan? Do we think he fits into the side somewhere? Is he...
I've got to give him credit. 10 runs, 100 metres. That's average of 10 metres per run.
Yep.
That's not bad for a guy that's a bit slighter.
But, I mean, the two wingers have been fantastic in their two trials, and Tui Pelosso's not in there yet. So
that was where I thought
it's a great position for the Dragons to be in.
Absolutely. Look, I think depends on what's happening with Fainu. I can't forget his name. Finau.
Yeah.
Because it was a heat stroke or was it a head knock?
I think it was heat stroke, I believe.
That's what they initially said, but it had to be the head knock. It happened just before that.
Yeah.
So it would have been a head knock.
So, but it looked pretty bad when it was running off. So it depends on what's going to happen with him. But I mean, if you run for a bunch of metres and score a couple of tries the week before and then you score 4 tries, like, it'd be pretty rough not getting a jersey.
4 tries and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, pretty rough to not get a jersey.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we'll see. We will see. The Dragons, looking absolutely outstanding. And they're the KO can't, the Dragons duo of Cook and Lockie Ilias are also the KO can't miss. Don't forget, guys, you want to watch any sport, you watch it on KO. Alrighty, on to the Brizzy Broncos. Don't forget, tonight, the CBA drop. That's right. At 6 p.m. tonight, New South Wales time, we've got our black and white. We've got our white and blue. We've got the hats as well. Very limited supply, guys, and it's the best way to support the podcast. And also, if you love some coffee, head to grumpycoffee.com.au. We've got pods, ground, and whole bean, all at grumpycoffee.com.au. Broncos defeat the Bulldogs 30-14. It's almost like strange watching the Broncos now because, last couple of years when you watch the Broncos, it's heart in mouth all the time. Like, what's going to happen? Holy shit. And don't get me wrong, it makes for a highlight reel. It makes for exciting rugby league. Whereas watching the Broncos now, they look just clinical. They look clinical. They look fit. They look strong. And also they're playing the kind of footy that I have been, I know, Broncos fans hated it over the last couple of years, or at least some of them, when I was always like, I just wish we could complete a little bit higher and select more, be more selective with our big plays. And I feel like they've found that good middle ground where they're finding, they're making the big play in the right place at the right time. Mate, the Broncos look phenomenal. Like, really, I mean, they look so good right now. They probably look the best they've looked in a preseason since Wayne Bennett era. That's how strong they look. They look so good that I'm worried that they're going to be too fit and they'll get tired by the end of the year. That's honestly my concern with how good they look. What do you think, Rue?
Yeah, no, they're looking good, mate. They look exactly what I expected a Michael Maguire side to look like. And you know what? Like, the guys that he left out of the side, these guys he's picked that I don't completely agree with, they look good as well. They're taking their opportunity.
Yeah, Jazeski probably had friggin' the best game of his career. He was outstanding. Ran for a bunch of metres. I'd still would start with Piakora. However, you can't knock Jazeski's, he's working his absolute backside off and he's doing what doing as much as he can to get that jersey.
Yeah, and if Piakura does eventually get an opportunity, you're going to get a much better version of him.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think of the Broncos, Hammy?
Yeah, built nicely on the week before, and we spoke about it kind of before the game at the live show that we did. Obviously the Reggies that played the week before, obviously we're going to kind of probably be more likely to buy into the new kind of hard edge that Madge kind of brought, and it was going to be interesting to see how some of the more superstar players got involved as well. But they just built beautifully on the week before. They looked really good, really slick, and all of it looks like pretty positive signs and a good response to Madge and how he's going about things in the preseason.
Absolutely. And you look at that Broncos side and you just go, geez, if they can continue to play this kind of, I wouldn't say it's not conservative footy, but just a little bit smarter and less risky, they're just going to be a hard side to beat, because if they get into a grind with someone, they have game breakers to score the points. So it's not like they're a side that they're just purely grind. You look at guys like Tapuua, who has been outstanding these last couple of trials, and he's going to be coming off the bench with Payne Haas and obviously Carrigan starting. Now, boys, what do you think of the Payne Haas, Carrigan, Kobe Hetherington at 13? I got to admit it, I love it. I think it works. And I've actually a couple of years ago, I actually thought Kobe Hetherington would be the 13 and Paddy would be up front. But I still think Paddy can do what he does at 10. And I think Kobe actually offers quite a lot at 13.
Yeah, I agree. I have my concerns just because I hadn't seen Kobe play 13. But I'm also agree with what you said about Pat Carrigan. I think he can sort of play a bit of that role both there. And I think that it's just about finding the right balance in doing it. And from what we've seen so far, they've got that balance.
And I just love how Paddy went out there, didn't sook, nothing, 10 runs, 122 metres, 38 post contact, 16 tackles, no misses, just went out there and did his job. And then, you go to Kobe. What I like about Kobe is just his lateral speed in defence, 37 tackles, 0 misses.
Yeah.
And so, there was their argument against the Broncos is their forward pack was so big and powerful, they did lack a bit laterally in defence at times.
Yeah.
You look at what the Bulldogs did to him last year. You put Kobe Hetherington at 13 and all of a sudden that lateral movement gets a bit quicker. So I think it's actually balancing out quite nicely with the Broncos. In regards to performances, I thought Ben Hunt looked outstanding.
Yeah. He was in a bit more control than what I thought he'd be. I still thought it would sort of be Adam Reynolds' same. Not that it was all Ben Hunt, but I don't know. I felt like he was in a little bit more control than what I expected. Did you feel that or?
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. Like, you would have thought that it would still be... But I actually think, now that you think about it in hindsight, I think Adam Reynolds probably likes the fact that it's not all on him. Before Benny Hunt arrived, it was all on Adam Reynolds to make everything happen. Whereas I think Adam Reynolds probably would enjoy it a bit more to go,
fair.
I don't have as much pressure on me anymore. I can kind of sit back, get my kicks in, get the boys around the park. But at times, if Benny Hunt sees he's got the hot hand, I'll just take a step back.
What do you see as your bench right now? Jensen, Takura, Marty? And then do you run with a 9 or?
So what's funny is that Tapua has been playing so well that, Marty Tapua might actually squeeze on my bench, and initially he wouldn't have been on my bench. I just wonder with Piakura, if he's not starting, is it because he was named at 20? He's not even on the bench here. He's named at 23.
Yeah.
And so I'm just interested to see. Granted, there's outside backs.
Marty and those boys, to be fair. Yeah.
And also Latrell, Sligway. There's 3 outside backs named at 14, 15, 16.
Yeah.
My bench would probably be. It would probably be Piakura, Billy Walters at 14. Jensen for sure. And then a toss-up between Takura and Tapua. I think at the moment with the way...
No, Wilson?
Oh, Wilson. Forgot about Wilson. Probably Wilson. But that spot would be between Willison, Tapua and Takura. I think with Takura, because he's so young, you could probably afford to go, mate, just give me a few games in reserve grade. And also, it's just a matter of, does he want to carry big boppers on the bench, Does he go, Piakura loses his spot and he actually carries Tapua, Willison and... Takura even, with Billy Walters potentially. But I'd be going Walters, Piakura, Willison, and then who else? Jensen. Yeah.
Okay.
Most likely.
From a bench that I was very nervous about a few weeks ago.
It's a tough bench to get
good
to.
all of a sudden.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're Tapuua and Takura,
Yep.
with the form they're in, to not make the side shows you. I actually think Wilson's probably under the most pressure.
Yeah, I don't think he's as locked to be on the bench as like what the impression I got from you there.
Yeah, I don't have him locked,
Yeah.
but at the moment, I think he's in the pecking order. I think he's above Tapua and Takura.
Okay.
But he's not a lock.
What was there a reason why he didn't play on the weekend?
No, I'm not sure. Maybe
Sure.
unless he got injured in the All-Star game.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's going to be interesting, the Ricky, Jazeski, Hunt, Piacora situation, because I actually think all four of them aren't as locked in as it might seem. So, yeah, I mean, again, what's great for the Broncos is a year ago, their edge back row depth was literally non-existent. You had to go and sign someone. And now it looks like we've actually got 4 solid back rows in the top squad.
Yeah, as I said a few weeks ago, I was a bit iffy on Pat Carrigan not playing 13, but if his days are on the edge or over, I'm stoked.
Yeah, I don't want
That
to see
was
him
a
on the edge.
ridiculous
Yeah,
time.
I don't want to see him on the edge. He's just, like, if you don't move one of the best literal middle players in the competition to an edge, in my opinion.
Any update on Stags? There was a little hamstring earlier.
Yeah, I actually think he might have done something longish, not like a few weeks at the very least, I think, to my understanding. Thoughts on Shibasaki over Dean Mariner?
I think it's kind of wild, to be honest, but he's done okay. I've always thought he's got talent. My biggest problem with him is that throughout his career, from what I've seen, he hasn't been able to do it for 3 weeks straight. He can have good performances. He's got good games in him. It's just that consistency. And I thought Dean Mariner, like, it wasn't perfect last year, but it wasn't an easy year to be good for the Broncos.
I understand Mariner needs to work a little bit on defence, but he is so electric in attack. I just can't see how you can keep him out of the side.
I genuinely think, like, he's one of the better movers in the game.
Literally. Like, mate, he had 9 tackle breaks on the weekend. 8 tackles, 0 misses. Like, his defence in these trials, at least for me, have been okay. The only thing I can think of is he's got Mariner and Piacora, 2 of the best young talents in the NRL, and he's just like, if I handle these guys' development correctly, I could build the next 10 years with these guys. That's the only thing that
It
makes
has to be that.
it's surely they're too talented
Yeah.
to go, you know what, I'm going to take a couple of guys who, you know, are good, okay first graders and take their spots. It's like, surely, put it this way, I reckon if someone said, Madge, you've either got to play Mariner and Piacora or you'll lose them because they're going to be like, I want to go somewhere else, I think you'd play them.
I think so too, yeah. And I think, like, the 2 guys are replaceable, with all due respect to them. Like, if they were in jersey 26, 27 in this game, I'd go, oh, that's good for them to be in that squad. Like, it's a good knock. Like,
And that's kind of, Jazeski actually played.
he played heaps well.
Honestly, it's probably his best game that I've seen him play in a Broncos jersey. He was good.
Yeah.
But I just think Mike Maguire has been around the block long enough to know sometimes a little bit of tough love with some younger fellas can actually bring the best out of them.
Had he done this with other players? Like, did he do it at the Tigers at all? Hammy, do you remember? Or even at South?
I don't think he had the luxury at
Didn't have
Tigers.
luxury, yeah.
At the Tigers, he was so desperate for an NRL starting side. Did he do it at South at all? He was early in his career to a degree there.
It was 10 years ago to be
Yeah.
fair, yeah.
Like, I remember he dropped people. Like, he did it a bit with Dave Taylor, and Dave Taylor ended up actually leaving. I remember there was one, Lottie Takiri, after the Raiders game, he just went in after the game and dropped him, and he ended up coming back and played in the grand final. But I don't know if you can. He's at the end of his career, so it's a bit different.
Yeah.
It was such a long time ago. I'd have to go back and try and remember. But Dave Taylor was definitely one of the ones.
It's a bloody strong message, though. And look, you know, from the games we've seen, even if we disagree with it, you can't knock it.
Oh, mate, and that's the whole thing that I think when we're looking at these, you know, our best 17s that we'd pick, like, it's not about picking the best. It's about picking the team that wins.
Yeah, who cares about that?
Fuck how you get there.
Absolutely.
It's not about people's feelings, and it's about getting wins on the board.
Yeah. And so you look at Michael Maguire, I don't think there's anyone watching the Broncos and saying they haven't put their best foot forward in the preseason trial. And that's all been off Michael Maguire's coaching. So it's kind of like, even if I was a coach and I would make different decisions and I'd, you know, umming and ahhing here, it's like, mate, they're playing outstanding rugby league. So it's like, whatever works.
You know what? I do remember he did it with Isaac Luke in 2012, his first year. He played hooker all year, and then he dropped him to the bench for the last, like, 6 weeks of the year. And then in the semi-final, he eventually brought him back to hooker.
Yeah, okay. Right. That's the only thing. Because, like, the funny thing is Piacora and Mariner have both trialled extremely well. So it's not like they're out of form. But we'll see. Anyway, in regards to some other performances, I just got to say, seeing Jensen play live, it's so good. Like, he is a battler. The amount of tough carries, how many tough carries was he taking? Just every time they needed someone to get a bit of momentum, Jensen would get the ball.
Especially we had that great view on the deck there, coming out of their own end. There's 3 or 4 occasions he had 4 blokes hanging off him, just doing the hardjacker.
It's just like watching him live. You get a new appreciation for what he delivers for a side. For a side full of superstars and get all the attention, mate. Jensen just all day, tough carry, gets a quick play of the ball. The whole set relies on him.
He's one of those sort of footballers that I think is really like his type of football is underappreciated. It feels like he's from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
He just does the job.
Yep.
Do you think in 20 years' time there'll be a space for your Corey Jensen still?
I think there'll always be a space for a guy like Jensen. I just think the game, unless it changes so much that the physicality's gone, but I think you're always going to need at least one straight up and down bloke that's willing to take heavy contact and find his front.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was outstanding to watch in person.
There's always a place for your Corey Jensens.
Absolutely.
Such an integral part of the game.
Yeah. I mean, they are the heart of the game.
Yeah.
We always talk about the halves, granted, for sure. But it's the bloody blokes in the middle that are doing the bloody tough stuff. It was good to see, Reece Welsh, only one error. Outside of that, it was good to see him when he got on his bike there on the outside of Critter.
Yeah.
And just like that first 10 metres might be the fast. Like the last time I seen its first 10 metres that fast was Matty Bowen. Like that first, his top speed actually isn't that fast, Reece Welsh, but his first 10 is electric.
Didn't watch Milford at the Raiders, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
The immortal himself.
The immortal.
Yeah.
Mate, how good was I loved Reece Walsh's interview after the game too about Ben Hunt.
What did he say?
He goes, I said, how's Dozer going? He's really good. And then he took Flano's quote and said, he's just got a few bad habits in his game.
I like the fact, clearly the boys have seen that.
Yeah, 100%.
Clearly the boys have seen that. So unnecessary from Flano to say that. Jesus Christ.
I wouldn't change him for the world.
Oh, mate, it's the best. It's like, when I read that quote from Flano, I was just like laughing to myself, just going, he just can't help. He loves it. He loves it.
Just guaranteed at least once a month you're going to get a Flano or a Ricky, just something brilliant that no one else would do.
Mate, it's just great. It's great stuff. I'm just looking at some other, as I said, I thought Dean Mariner obviously was outstanding when he come on. They're just a well-oiled machine at the moment, to be honest. Yeah. They were standout-ish, but they're just so well-drilled. I can't express enough how much watching them is a different experience than what it was a couple of years, like last year.
Yeah.
It is. You're not worried about crazy stuff happening. You're just like, put it this way: when you see them, they're coming out of their own end, you're just confident it's going to happen. Like, you're confident they're going to get through their set. Whereas back in the day, you were going, "Holy shit, what's going to happen here?" So yeah, look,
how
great
did Selwyn
start.
look off?
Good.
He looked good.
Strong.
Yeah.
Like, so strong. 7 tackle breaks.
He looks a bit leaner.
Definitely looks leaner. Looks fitter. Just the errors. He still had 2 errors. So just that. But outside of that, looks strong. Looks super lean. I mean, again, if he can just buy in, it's going to be a huge year for him. Huge year. I feel for Staggs, because if it is a long-term injury for Staggs, like I don't know if he's re-signed or not. So hopefully for his sake.
Yeah, I don't know if he's officially re-signed. Geez, wind up, obviously Staggs is a gun. I love him. But if you have Reynolds, Mariner, Cobbo on that edge,
bro,
fuck, it's going to be insane to watch. I'll tell you, and we'll get to them soon, but, mate, looking at the way that Broncos left edge attacked against how the Roosters right edge defended, that could be frightening for round one.
I can't wait.
Is that played in Sydney or up
Yeah.
in?
Allianz.
Oh, thank God it's on a Suncorp. Could have been could have been scary.
Just on Tuppo, we already kind of covered off on him and how he's looked so impressive this preseason. Both games he's definitely caught my eye, but just some numbers here. 17 runs, 181 metres, 98 post contact.
Crazy.
17 tackles, 1 missed. Definitely looks like a very eager, like whatever's happening this preseason, he's clearly got on board. He looks fit, scary, ready to go.
Well, guys like that are genetic freaks, being paired with a guy like Michael Maguire, that's when they just go to a whole other level. And that's why I think he actually may sneak. Both games he's ran, I think, for the most metres of any forward. At the very least, up there with some of the ones. So it's like, if you're doing post-contact nearly 100 metres, that's bloody good. Anyway, anyone else for the Broncos, guys?
That's it.
That's enough.
Okay, on to the doggies. Look, they did get in the grind early, watching it live. Like, it was a back and forth. it did look like the Broncos were in control, or just they seemed more settled, and the Bulldogs were just making some really silly errors early on. It was good to see the Bulldogs fight back into it, though. Granted, I do think that there were some first graders that came off the field late for the Broncos. Sorry, not late, when they did that fight back. However, it was good to see them fight back. They actually got back to even, and then the Broncos ran away with it. I will say, though, that try from Preston.
The footwork.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a bit of rumour around that he might not play 80 minutes for the Bulldogs. Watching him the other day, hopefully he's completely shut them down.
So he had a try. He had 12 runs for 183 metres, 64 post contact, 4 tackle breaks, a line break, 41 tackles and only 1 miss. No errors. What a knock. And I think like last year he was coming back from injury quite a lot, like in and out, off the bench. Whereas this year he looks like he's fit, had a whole preseason under his belt. He looks scary.
I'd love, and I know it's a trial, it's not NRL, but just I'd love to see tries that have been scored by forwards out of dummy half from further out.
Mate, he just...
It's like 60 metres.
Yeah, and then he just gassed the fullback.
Incredible.
Like a bloke that big moving like that. And I think that he had that breakout year, and because he was so disrupted last year and because there was so much fanfare around everything else the Bulldogs were achieving, people forgot this guy was their player of the year in their struggling year.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about a guy that, in my opinion, probably will be in the New South Wales squad in the next 2 to 3 years if he gets enough opportunity, obviously, at the Bulldogs, because he's special. Like 41 tackles, only 1 miss, plus those meters. Like those numbers are insane. And so like he won Player of the Year in a Bulldogs side that could barely string together a win. Imagine him on the field, fully fit, ready to go when they're actually winning rucks and roll-ons, and he's getting space on the edges there. It's going to be a big year for Preston, in my opinion.
I thought he's obviously going to play early because Kiraz sounds like he's out for.
Jeez, they miss Kiraz. Oh my God.
They did, but and I know he's not as good as Kiraz, but I thought Blake Wilson coming in, he just always seems to do a job, doesn't he?
Oh, Wilson's outstanding for sure. I just think that like there's just something about Kiraz. He's
100%.
He's hard.
Yeah,
like he's that what's the word? Like the locker room guy that just inspires other people. Even though I agree with you, I think Wilson's outstanding. Who's on the other wing again? I can't believe
Montoya's come over.
Montoya. There'd be a real world where I feel like there should be pressure between Kiraz, Wilson, and Montoya. Like I wouldn't have Montoya. I mean, I understand why you would start Montoya for sure, because like he is a bloody good winger. But I actually rate Wilson so highly that I reckon there should be a bit of pressure on Montoya's edge there.
I think it will definitely be a big conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Hammy, Bulldogs, what do you think, mate?
Yeah. I think obviously Preston was definitely the standout player for them. They were a little bit, probably underwhelming. There was one guy I thought had a not very on-brand game for him was probably Connor Tracy.
Yeah.
He had a couple of, like usually he's just like so safe back there, but he had, I think it was 3 errors in the end. One of them led to a try. There's a little bit of chat around the fullback jersey there at the Dogs as it is. So maybe from that perspective, probably not his best hit out. But as I say, that's like a deep, like he's usually a banker.
Came out of nowhere, didn't it?
Yeah, I know. It really surprised me. That's just why it probably caught my eye. But that was one that probably didn't go as well as he'd been hoping.
And I thought Burton looked a little bit rusty, if I'm being honest, especially in defence. I thought he was a bit touch or go.
Mate, he tends to start season slow, Burton. Like I remember the first early rounds of last year and in the trials, I was getting around to thinking, should we play him at fullback? Like he does tend to start a little bit slow, so I'd just be patient with him. I thought Josh Curran, as per, I know he got sin bin late, but I thought he looked good as well.
Mate, he is just we talk about being the heart and soul of rugby league. He is just a worker. He will go all day long. Look, I don't think there's that much to worry about with the Bulldogs because even, yes, the Broncos did, score a few tries early on in the first, 20 or 30. But there was actually a period there where they just got in the grind with the Broncos. I just think that they just had a few errors in key moments that the Broncos were just so conservative that they just took care of it.
I think, once again, some trials mean more to some teams than others, and I think this trial period has probably meant more to the Broncos with a new coach, with something to prove this year, new halves, et cetera, et cetera. Canterbury, not a heap has changed there, realistically. I'm not looking too far into it for Canterbury.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with you, mate. Like, the Broncos heading into this preseason, even if they came off a great year, Mike Maguire notoriously, he has his boys in shape for the start of the season. So, and you look at the Bulldogs, because they were such a hard-working side last year, and then you look at the end of the year where they did peter off a little bit, I wonder whether Ciro's gone, okay, you know what, like maybe I take the foot off the pedal a little bit and I peak a little bit later. Because I reckon they probably peaked 4 weeks too early, the Bulldogs.
Yep. Yeah, it was that last 5 weeks.
Yeah.
The wheels really fell off.
Yeah, and so I reckon they peaked probably like when they went on that run, and it was about, let's say round 22 or something like that. That's where they were like, and I reckon Serraldo's probably looked at that and said, you know what, we need to be peaking, week one of the finals. And especially with the style of rugby league they play, because you go back and actually, you look at the Penrith Panthers, they learnt the same thing. Remember their first year, they went on that crazy run and probably dropped off towards the end.
Yep.
And Ivan Cleary started making some changes to where they actually are a little bit of a slow starter. Don't get me wrong, they still pick up points. But they're a little bit slow starter, and I wonder whether Serraldo's looked at that, whereas the Broncos literally just can't afford to start slow.
Yeah.
And so, they're hitting the ground running. Another guy I just wanted to mention is Kurt Mann. Mate, what I love about this new era of rugby league is guys like Kurt Mann, Connor Watson, that are just getting like second leases in life and almost becoming guys like Randall as well, just getting opportunities to, it used to be a curse to be a utility. Now it is like, it's a boon. Like it's almost important to be it. So I thought Kurt Mann was outstanding. So not much to worry about with the Bulldogs, I reckon. They had such a good year. They did show signs of grit and toughness and to fight their way back into it. I think they made it 14 all at one stage. And yeah, they did leave their first graders on for a little bit longer, but again, I think that's fine. Broncos had a lot to prove. So not much too much to worry about. I mean, look, you could look at little things like Kickow. He had 5 missed tackles. That you probably want him hitting the ground running a bit more. Outside of that, just trying to look at some other guys. Yeah. I mean, Harry Hayes came on, which was good. 40 tackles, only 3 misses, which is decent. Just trying to look here. But yeah, so not the best performance, but at the same time, I wouldn't be worrying if I was a Doggies fan. Okay, on to Titans defeating the Dolphins 26-18. Okay. I'll tell you what, brought to you by Bloke Undies, Big Tino. He's made a successful return, and here's our Bloke of the Week that's grabbed life by the balls, brought to you by Bloke Undies. Use code TINO, T-I-N-O, for 10% off your Bloke Undies this week because Tino's a bloke that grabbed life by the balls. I'll tell you what, even though I know he is the heart and soul of that team, even though I know he's one of the best forwards in the competition, watching in person how important he is to that forward pack, I cannot... it blows my mind how much work he gets through and how important he is to that forward pack. And I know it. I already know that's the case. For him to come back and play like that, his first game back, because he didn't play that last week, did he? He didn't play last week. First game back from his injury, and to hit the ground running the way he did, it is special. He is a special, special human being. And with the Titans, I look at it and I just go, yes, the jury is still out on this spine combination. Ironically enough, their hand has now been forced because of the Kieran Foran injury. And so I'm not 100% convinced yet. However, you definitely can see what Desi's vision is. It is a spine. You could argue it's the most electric spine in the competition with ball in hand.
Spinomite. That's what they're working with up there.
I like it. I like it.
Hashtag Spinomite. Get it trending.
Get it trending. And so you could see the vision, though, the style of footy he wanted to play. Because around the ruck, if you've got just one of those 3 close to the ball and there's even half a line break, it turns into a try.
Yep.
And we saw that on the weekend. And so I sit back and I go, okay, you know what? If there's a madman, if there's a mad scientist that can make this work, maybe it is Desi Hasler. Because I saw it. Yes, it's a trial. Yes, the Dolphins didn't play that well. But we saw the vision.
Yeah, we spoke about it last week. If he wants to play that style, at least he's built the forward pack that could allow him to do it. That forward pack is enormous. He's still got Regan Campbell-Gillard to go back into that side. Wasn't like an absolute full-strength Dolphin side, but it was a pretty good side there. The Titans, if their forward pack can win the middle and just give their spine the opportunity to do what they do, and they've got strong outside backs, I can see it working out the way that it did yesterday. But are you going to be able to play like that for 27 weeks is my sort of concern. if your forwards don't win the middle, what happens then?
And also, if a team like just spots them up and Brimo's making 40 tackles,
Yeah, which will happen.
Which absolutely will happen, or Campbell's making 30 tackles. But as I said, I like seeing it in action. You go, oh shit! Like this at its best in attack. It's unique. It's similar-ish to the way the Melbourne Storm can play at times. It's exciting.
And you know what? Like it sucked to see it yesterday, but when Kieran Foran came on, he got injured. Looks like he's out for a period of time, and that's awful to see. But from the perspective of the way they want to play, I don't mind that they're taking the safety blanket away. You got no parachute. Make it fucking work.
And look, to be fair, in the Titans' defence, like we've been yarning on and on about this whole, they need to make a decision about a fullback. Well, there's a decision.
This is it.
The decisions to be made. This is how you keep all three at the club.
Yep.
Like this is why they persisted with trying to fit Campbell into the side somehow when Brimo was fullback and then Kinney. And all of a sudden you go, well, how can you knock them when at least there's a clear plan in place to have these guns in the side?
Yep,
so it's like, you know what? Go all in if it works, because if it does work, we might see some of the most exciting footy we've ever seen from a spine, or at least, in recent memory, because those three together, like Brimo was electric. And then Kinney was electric. And then, you know what I mean? Like all three of them by themselves are showstoppers. You put them together and it's just like, it's the best show in town.
A bit, not to get all West Tigers nostalgic on you, but it's got a bit of a Tigers 05 spine kind of feel about it. Scotty Prince and Benji. And
win the ruck, quick play the balls.
Yep. If it all clicks, it's going to be very exciting to watch. And, we kind of said it in last year, could Jaden Campbell, could he be a 7? No, now we're going to probably get a good look at it. I think it's very exciting.
And I don't think the question is, can he be a 7? It's just, can he be a version of a 7 that they can be successful with, realistically. I think the other thing that really helps the Titans, mate, like if I had to pick one team in this competition who consistently plays at 3 p.m. or 5:30 on a Saturday when the sun's out and it's not wet, like they play to their conditions as well.
Yep. Yeah. They just got to sort their defence out, really.
Yep.
That's it. And we've been speaking about that for years. But so as I said, like it doesn't mean I'm still like, locked into this is going to work, but at least we could see what they're trying to do. Sometimes you watch NRL clubs and you're just like, I don't know what the plan is here. Like, it's almost like they're just, going set by set. Good thing for the Titans is Desi has a clear plan in place. Now, in regards to performances, we've already spoken about it, but I thought Brimo was outstanding.
Yep.
Like, absolutely phenomenal.
Just about keeping him on the field.
Yeah, you just got to keep him and Campbell on the field, and obviously Kinney as well. But, mate, Brimo's the type of guy that every time he goes away and he's a little bit injured, he comes back and you're like, oh, shit, yeah, he is always one of the best players on the field. Yep. Very rarely, when Brimo is fully fit playing NRL, is he not one of the best players on the field.
Who am I? I ran for 223 metres, 85 post contact. I had 3 tackle breaks, 2 offloads, but I missed 10 tackles.
I know because I've already seen it. You want me to say it?
Yes, I.
Kelly.
Yeah. It's the most Brian Kelly game I've ever seen.
Yeah.
If he can just sort it out, you're a gun.
Mate, that defence, he just needs to find a way. Like, he needs to find a way to temper the aggression.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of his misses are because he's trying to hurt blokes, which is great. We love it. But at the same time, having those kind of missed tackles, you just can't do that.
And, mate, you don't need Brian Kelly to become an elite defender.
Just solid.
Just become solid. And, he's such a good attacking centre. He's unreal, but and it's been 3 or 4 years we've been having this conversation before now. Hopefully.
Mate, that is just such a wild stat line. 21 runs, 223 metres, 85 post contact, 20 tackles, 10 misses. In one breath, he was the best player on the field. In the other breath, he was the worst.
And I think, I've been saying it for long, he just personifies the Titans to me. That, it's been years of him not sorting that out. I don't quite understand how the Titans haven't clamped it. Like, we say it every week.
Yeah.
I don't know how the Titans aren't clamping down on it.
Yep. Thoughts on, because Fafita didn't start, did he?
Weird vibes.
Very weird vibes.
Yeah.
They just re-signed him.
Yep. Hazlitt just trying to do what Madge is doing? Is he trying to get a rocket up him? I don't know. He did have an injury in the preseason, but he started last week, so I don't know what to read into this situation with Fafita.
It is so strange. And Bo Fermor had an outstanding game.
Yep.
So, they just re-signed him. They just re-signed him on a big deal. Jeez. What a strange career Fafita has had. Sometimes I feel he's over-maligned And then sometimes I feel like people take way too much out of him. Then sometimes I feel like, he can be a bit too quiet and doesn't do what he does best. It's just a very strange career.
And
very
it can
strange career.
flip from one extreme to the other in 12 months.
Literally, like
Less.
one year it was, mate, do the tough stuff, stop worrying about scoring all these tries. So he turns around, does all the tough stuff, and everyone's so, no, you've taken away his X factor.
Yeah.
And then now this year he's come out and he looks a bit quiet, looks like, a bit like he's, not as interested maybe as prior years. Now, granted, it's only been 2 trials, but there's got to be some reason why he was started off the bench. And he was named at 11, which is,
Yeah, it's a weird one.
it's a weird one. So hopefully, because they just can't afford to have a guy on that much money not killing it. So hopefully Desi's just, trying to get the best out of him.
I thought Phil Sami was good as well. Another
Yep.
guy that's consistently underrated for them. Another good game from him.
Just looking here.
Tell you who else can move, and Campiero didn't feature in this one. I don't know where he's at. Anyone else getting a bit weird vibes around him for this?
Yep, absolutely.
No, I feel like he'll start. Maybe they were just kind of managing him more,
I just get worried that like maybe defensively, because he's a smaller body, that Desi's, because there's that is it Brock Gray, the winger that came on quick as anything.
You mean Alan Fitzgibbon?
Oh, sorry, Alan Fitzgibbon.
Yeah.
Because he didn't start. Did he?
I'm not sure if no, he didn't. No. But he's been in New South Wales Cup the last few years.
Mate, there were some moments where he absolutely torched his winger.
He's lightning.
Yeah.
He's played for the Bears the last couple of years whenever I've seen him. I think he might have been at the Tigers a few years before that. Yeah, he is lightning quick.
Like that, in a way he did on his winger.
Yeah.
Just left him for dead. 8 runs, 121 metres, a line break. So there's the Campiero, surely, at the very least, he must be niggly injury if he's not even in the squad.
Well, I thought he played last. Yeah, so maybe it is just a little
It
niggle.
has to be. But I am getting a bit weird vibes with it.
Yeah.
How about Big Mo?
Big Moe Fodawaker.
Thought he was great. Good numbers here. 15 runs, 186 metres, 73 post-contact, 26 tackles, 1 missed. That's a good knock.
That's the thing with Moe is like, he has this in him, but last week he was, not great.
Yeah, whatever was said in the week off.
And that's the thing with trials. You just never know. Like the Titans could have gone into last week getting towed up in fitness all week, and they could have had a heavy session. That's why they were so flat. Or the Dolphins could have just not been great, because the Dolphins were incredible last week, not good this week. That's why it's so hard to tell with trials.
So there's one guy, I just can't put my finger on what sort of a footballer he is, Cleese Haas.
Is he a workhorse?
Is he a workhorse?
Yeah.
Is he not? I have people tell me he's a workhorse. I see him through games throughout the last few years where he makes a handful of tackles and has 2 runs. Then he comes out in this game and on the edge, runs for 110 metres and he made 38 tackles. He only missed 1.
And he had 3 offloads.
I feel like every time I see him, he always looks good, but he looks a different sort of footballer each time I see him.
Yeah, so true. It's so true. Because there was that whole joke a couple of years ago when I think he didn't have any runs or he minus 5 metres or whatever, and he was just defending heaps. So yeah, with the Titans, it's like, you know what, like you can't ask for much more. You got to see the style that Desi's going for, which is like half the battle. Because like as I said, there are some NRL squads that you're literally halfway through the season going, I don't know what style of rugby league they play. Now onto the Dolphins. They just got left in the box a little bit, I think, the Dolphins. They were never like fully out of the game. But at the same time, they just didn't start anywhere near as well as obviously they did start last week. Granted, it was essentially a different side last week. They definitely missed Joe Marshall-King for sure at 9, like crazy. Donahue did a decent job, but he's still a young fella. I'm interested to see what they're doing with Donahue because like last week he trials at fullback. This week is at 9. The only thing I can think of is that Wolf is going, he's going to be our 14. So I'm just trying to get him as much runs on the board as possible in different positions. Because I don't know how that, like, if that isn't the case, it's like, it doesn't really make sense that 1 week he's a fullback and the other week he's a 9.
Jeremy Marshall-King, his value goes up every time he's not on the field.
Yeah.
It's incredible. His value goes up more when he's off the field than when he's on because they look like a complete different side.
Yeah, way different. Because Katoa needs at least someone in that spine that is experienced. And what's funny is like it's not like Marshall-King is actually that experienced. I'm pretty sure Marshall-King will be available for round 1, so that's a good get from him.
How did Tommy Gilbert look up there?
Good, strong in defense. Strong in contact. A couple of times where he was close to the line, he found his front. Just what they need, really. But outside of that, I'm just like looking at some of these stats here. There wasn't really anyone that stood out. Herbie got through his work as usual. 12 runs, 123 metres, 43 post contact, 6 tackle breaks, 16 tackles, only 1 miss. But a bit of a down night for the Dolphins. There wasn't anyone really that jumped out. Other than Marky Nichols, the GOAT, scoring a doubler.
2 pre-season meat pies for Marky Nichols. Like a fine wine, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's getting better with age.
What about Junior Tupu? How did he look like for you guys? He's one I'm very interested in this year.
Yeah, decent, but that's the thing with the Dolphins. Like it was a game with so many stops and starts, and it was really hard to get a vibe. So I'm just going to look at the team stats. But yeah, I mean, he looks solid, I guess. But I don't really anyone in the Dolphins didn't really stand out, didn't really jump out. Like 66% completion rate. Like very hard to just get that roll on.
Yeah.
What did you make, Kempy, of Donahue getting a start at hooker? Now, obviously we reckon, seems like the consensus on this show is it'd be great to see him have a bit of a crack at 6, but he got to start at hooker in this game. What did you reckon?
Yeah, so I spoke about that earlier. They must be preparing him to be 14 because Averillo didn't have the best game.
Yep.
And I'm just a big believer. I think Donahue deserves a shot at 6 if Averillo doesn't work. Now, granted, I think it's probably a bit premature to go, Averillo had 1 bad game, therefore he's not going to be a 6. But they seem pretty locked in to Averillo at 6.
I love Averillo at 6, yeah.
And so, ironically, when Averillo went to centre, he bloody scored. But yeah, they seem locked in it, which is, we'll see.
I don't know if this team is good enough to not have Donahue on the field. I think he's too good to not.
Same.
I think he's too good to play 30 minutes. Or coming off the bench. I think he's,
I look at him and Katoa, and I just go, okay, this team's, maybe it fights for the 8 this year, but it's not winning a premiership. But I'll tell you what it can do. Him and Katoa can build a partnership that in 3 or 4 years they might be able to challenge for one. And that's where I'd probably be leaning towards that. And unfortunately, I didn't think Averillo had the best game on the weekend. And we'll just look at, granted, he made 12 tackles. He didn't miss any. But at the same time, I just felt like, he just wasn't as involved maybe as he usually is. He only had 6 runs. I know he moved out to the centres, but 6 runs for Averillo, you want him having 15.
Yeah.
And as I said, there was a 66% completion rate. So, and it wasn't just Averillo. It was across the board. They were quite down. But yeah, so I guess we'll see that. We always knock clubs for switching and changing. So I wouldn't expect the Dolphins to make a late call now. Even though I would try Donahue in the preseason at 6, if I had already selected Averillo, I probably would keep him there and just give him a fair crack for the season to start.
Tell you what, if he is playing 5'8" round 1, South Sydney missing a heap of guys, they're going to have to play to their strengths. He's going to get to know Keon Kolomatangi that night.
Oh,
he's going to send plenty of traffic.
Oh my God. But yeah, outside of that with Dolphins, it's really hard to Junior Tupou, he did what we know he can do, which is obviously his carries are great. 14 carries, 140 metres, 56 post contact, 5 tackle breaks. Didn't have to make that many tackles, made no errors. So everyone knows Junior Tupou can carry the ball. That's he's a big boy. He gets through a lot of work. So at least he did that well. But when I look at the Dolphins, it's really hard to take a lot out of that game because it was so clunky.
Yeah.
66% completion rate. There was one stage where they just couldn't get through a set. They just could not. I think they showed a lot of fight to get back into it. The game nearly started to kind of edge away from them. They scored a couple of late ones. But at the end of the day, a bit hard to take away from that.
Yeah, I guess the biggest positive you take away is that the Titans looked unreal to me. They won by 8.
Yeah. True. Okay, don't forget, could be anything dropped tonight at 6 p.m. New South Wales time. Don't forget to grab your Grumpy Coffee, grumpycoffee.com.au. Knights defeat the Roosters 48-10. Now, similar to the Titans, similar to the Dragons, I saw the vision, and yes, does it mean that, we're all locked in and that's definitely going to work? However, what I loved about it, just keeping Fletcher sharp around the ball, near the ball, where there's a line break or whatever. Whereas before, if you've got a halves pairing of, let's just say, a Hastings and Cogger, if there's a line break, unfortunately those guys they're not quick enough to get there. Whereas if you have a guy like Fletcher sharp around the ruck, all of those half breaks you make, Fletcher Sharp's right there. And we saw that on the weekend with a couple of tries. And also I did notice quite a few times KP would actually push him out to the fullback position. And so that's where I go, oh, okay, it's a bit sneaky here from O'Brien. Like, he's gone, he gets Fletcher in there to do the defence at 6, but then he goes, KP's essentially my 6 anyway in attack. Because that's what we have always argued for, is why the hell would you move KP into the 6 jersey in defence when you could just keep him at fullback and make him attack in at 6? And it seems like O'Brien looks to be doing that, where he's going, look, I'll put KP at the back, but in attack, just get him at 6, he gets the ball. And then what do I have? I got Fletcher Sharp, who is electric outside him, to be able to, score tries in that, because he's a noted try scorer. And that's when it all clicked for me. I said, I see the vision. I see what Adam O'Brien is trying to put together. You pair Fletcher Sharp with a guy like Bradman Best as well, like the speed on the edges. So I saw the vision, and I think that I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all from Adam O'Brien.
I like it as well. I spoke about it last week. Said, the Knights lost. They were disappointing, but I like what they're trying to do. They're actually trying to play some footy. And once you get KP back in the side, that's the thing that has annoyed me with Knights the last 2 years. It's like they made the finals. That's fantastic. But did anyone think they were going to compete for a comp realistically by just holding the ball to a fourth tackle, then kicking it to the 10-metre line and just hanging in the contest? Like, they've got players like Fletcher Sharp, like KP, that they're leaning into now, and I love to see it. I think they're going to be... I had them for bottom 4. That was before I knew they were going to play this style. I thought they just played their normal, boring as batshit sort of footy they've played the last few years. If they're going to lean into it and properly attack like this, like to think last year, like they had KPP, who by the way on the right looks unreal. He looks
offloading as well.
Looks sensational. Like I think it's very evident he's loosened the leash a little bit, and I think it's going to pay dividends tonight. I still don't think they'll make the top 8. But I think they'll be a little bit closer than what I first had them. And credit to Adam O'Brien for, like, he's obviously had a plan the last 2 years that, I mean, I guess you can say it's worked. They've made it to the finals, but fuck, like you don't play in the NRL to coach in the NRL to be good enough. You want to have a fucking swing, and when you've got a guy like KP, you might as well.
Yeah, and to be fair, like, we've criticised Adam O'Brien quite a lot for the chopping and changing. So heading into this year, could have been very easy for him to hear, not obviously our noise, but just the general noise, and be too afraid to move Fletcher Sharp into 6 because he's like, oh, fuck, like this doesn't... Because the optics of it are shocking. Like to move a winger to 6. Granted, I know he came through playing in the halves to a degree, but to go, oh, by the way, Gamble and Phoenix Crossan, the 2 dudes that I finished the year with in the halves, you were actually not there. Phoenix Crossan's at 9, and I'm going to move Fletcher... The optics are shocking.
Awful.
But... fair play to Adam O'Brien for going, I'm going to make the call. I'm going to try to play some more expansive rugby league and score points. They scored bloody 48 points. And they looked dangerous in attack. I got to say, like, I know people, Knights fans, get frustrated when we say it all revolves around KP. And, like, maybe it doesn't if Fletcher Sharp can really step up this year. But, my God, when KP is on, I want it to revolve around KP.
Yeah, why Knights fans get offended by that, I'll never know. He's one of the best players in the game. Of course the game's going to fucking revolve around.
Mate, I want him with the ball in hand as much as possible, because he is on another level.
Yep.
Like, we are fully beginning to see, and I know like the year that he won the Dally M, we saw it, but these last couple of years, I wasn't so sure we'd ever get here. There was all this talent, all this promise. We have arrived. Like he walks into games. When I watch a game with Kalen Ponga now, I just know he's going to tear him apart. Yeah. Whereas I feel like back in the day, it was what KP is going to turn up. And nowadays, it's like you're almost guaranteed a show with KP at the back there.
I love, too, just how ruthless the Knights were in this one. They addressed very early that Roosters right edge. We'll get to it soon. They were absolutely shell-shocked. Mate, they just peppered them.
Constant. Over and over and over again. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Bradman Best looks electric. Yep. Jeez, he looks good, doesn't he? Marju's looking outstanding as well.
Yep.
Yeah, they're another team, just like the Dragons, that I'm just reassessing, like, my season preview predictions. It's like, makes you take a pause a bit and go, okay, hang on a sec, maybe I got this wrong. Now, granted, long year, but still, it's impressive.
I had them lower than all you guys, I'm pretty sure. And, like, I'm definitely now going, fuck, no, like, with this style, I've got to lift them up. I sort of have them back to where you guys all probably had them. But you got to remember as well, like, that was without Tyson Frizzell and Adam Elliott. My biggest concern is they're lacking middles.
Yeah.
That was without... 2 of their 4 best middles.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What do you think, Hammy?
Yeah, just to echo this Fletcher Sharp stuff, it really caught me off guard when they said it at the start of the season. But Jesus, it looks like it's got to work for them, and the way that they kind of rotated Ponga in there and just got him doing that role that he basically does anyway. I thought, they're very impressive, and they really sort of surprised me. I definitely didn't expect them to do a job like this on the Chooks. Very concerning for the Chooks, but there's some very good signs there for the Knights. I think they just looked in sync. A lot of points came from a lot of different angles. Had a couple through the middle as well for Saifidi, which was interesting as well. So I think they look. I think I was pretty harsh on them. They might have been bottom 4 in my predictions, but if they keep playing like this, there's every chance they can make the finals again, which they've done the last few years, surprising everyone.
Well, I mean, to be in our defence, we did say they're going to need Saifidi and Leo Thompson to step up and play some of their best footy, and that's exactly what they did. They both played outstanding.
Yep.
Just quickly on the Leo Thompson situation. So it just came out yesterday that the Knights said, this is quoted from the Knights end, that apparently the old management promised Leo Thompson upgrades that never eventuated. And their belief is that Leo Thompson kind of held on to that a little bit, which is understandable. And so that's part of the reason why he potentially moved on. And that's literally quoted from the club.
Yep.
So that does start to make the puzzle, makes the puzzle come together a little bit as to why he left. And it just shows you, how often you never hear about it, but there's always stuff promised to players, and they just get screwed over time and time again. And I know, some fans are like, oh, don't give me this, woe is me. But, if you're at your employee and you were promised certain things, you'd be frustrated too. So I guess, the Knights management would be filthy and kicking themselves with how that all went down. However, it looks like at the moment their forward pack look good on the weekend, so hopefully they can fill that hole when he leaves. Good to see Jacob Saifidi with 2 tries, because he is the main guy for them. He's the main guy.
Yep.
Interesting to see Phoenix Crossan basically locked into that hooker role now. Also came out that they will not be offering Jaden Brayley a contract, even though he had a try and a try assist. 24 tackles, 0 misses, had a bloody good game. Mate, if I'm a club needing a hooker, I'm knocking on his door literally today, going, please come right now.
Yeah, it'd be a great get. I thought he was really good when he came on. Bit harsh, he did a good job for them there when he was there last year as well. But if they don't want him, there's plenty of other clubs that could definitely use him.
What I find, I guess the harshest thing is there were quotes last year where Jaden Brayley was like, I don't know what's going on. And so the frustrating thing from a player's perspective in this situation is, I wish you just told me early, because there's now been whole 12 months where I could have been negotiating with clubs, and then when I was actually starting in the NRL, now I'm coming off the bench as a 14. My value goes down because you guys waited 12 months to make that decision.
I say, if they make this decision 12 months ago, I reckon there's every chance he's at the Roosters right now playing hooker.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many clubs, probably even the Eels.
Yep.
So that's the bit where you go, it's a bit unfair, but I'm sure he'll pick a club up. Because he's a bloody good number 9. And also, at the same time, one guy's loss is another guy's opportunity. Phoenix Crossan gets that 9 jersey. What a journey Phoenix Crossan's been through.
Yeah.
Comes through the grades, comes through school as a gun 7, gets, tossed to turned here and there. Looks like he's pretty much done. Looks like he just isn't going to feel his potential. And all of a sudden, he gets a 9 jersey. Now he's going to be their 9. Another great effort from Dylan Lucas.
Yeah.
Jeez, he's good. I'll tell you what, he probably will be part of the New South Wales squad this year.
If not this year, I think he will be very soon.
Yeah.
And we speak about it all the time, that jersey 17, to have someone that can cover centre, back row. He's just about perfect for it.
Yep. Centre, back row, potentially wing at a pinch if he played centre growing up. Played front row if he had to, through the middle, 13. So it's that just becomes so valuable in a squad.
So valuable.
And geez, when was the last time Dylan Lucas had a bad game?
Mate, that's the thing. His floor's so high. It's exactly what you want.
Every week at the Knights, he's one of their best players.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the biggest profile, doesn't get celebrated as much as some of the other boys, but geez, he plays some good footy. As I said earlier, I thought Margie was outstanding, but Bradman Best, he looks good. I can't wait to see a fully fit foreign Bradman Best.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of the great sights, isn't it?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So big and powerful. It's a joke.
And so, one thing that a lot of people forget is he's got a lot of class too. A little deft touch or, he looks, but just his little try assist yesterday, intelligent play as well.
Yep.
What about that shot James Schiller put on Angus Crichton?
Bro,
Fuck.
you don't do that to Crichton.
Angus hit the ground. You sort of just saw his face go,
What the fuck?
what just happened?
He's like, that doesn't happen to me. Mate, Schiller, what a signing.
Yeah.
I rate that so highly, getting him from the Raiders, because every time he's played first grade, he's been outstanding.
Yep.
Just trying to get his stats up here. 11 runs, 100 metres, 2 tackle breaks, 5, not a bad knock.
Not a bad knock, and as tends to be the way with the Newcastle Knights, they either go left or they go right. They went left yesterday, so James Schiller didn't get as many opportunities. When they start to go more right as well with Dane Gagai, I think Schiller could get a number of tries this year.
Yep. Thomas Kahn, I thought he did all right when he come on.
Mate, there's Thomas Kahn, there's Kyle McCarthy, there is Connor Vitano, who scored the last try, and there is Jermaine McEwen off their bench. Mate, they are in a very, very good spot with their depth. They just got to keep all those guys in Newcastle.
Because Vitano had 4 runs for 103 metres.
He took the intercept, though.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
But he's a freak. He's a gun. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I remember that intercept. Towards the end of the intercept, wasn't it?
I think in the back of their mind.
And they were rapping him. Was it? Someone was rapping him before the game, I think.
Yeah. He's a weapon.
Yeah, okay.
I think in the back of their mind, I don't think it'd be the only reason, but I think part of them would be happy that Fletcher Sharp's playing 5'8", because it can free up a spot in the back line for him eventually.
Because you don't want to lose him. Because he's still, 19? 18, 19?
Yeah, and there's a number of clubs that have already reached out about him.
And I know like you go, it's, intercept, but intercept is so hard to time. You get them wrong, you are done. Now, onto the Roosters. I know it's only a trial.
Yep.
I'm worried. Like, I am really worried. Look, Trent Robinson has proven before when they've been decimated by injury, he can coach this team without its superstars. But I'd argue it might be it might be the most important season of his career, because it's really the first year he's gone into one of the very few years he has gone into a season with a roster that is on par with other rosters. Nearly every other year, he is going into a season with arguably the best roster on paper. Now, granted, there is a special type of skill in coaching that. We saw with the Brisbane Broncos, they had a great roster, but it didn't work. Like, just having a good roster, that's a different challenge. It's trying to get all of these stars to work together. And so that is hard to do. And there's no denying Robbo is a good coach coaching that style of footy. But the challenge this year he faces is that he just does not have the roster that he is used to. And as I said, he has proven before. I think it was in 2022 where they were decimated by injury. I think they came 5th or something like that. And it was like a master coach, like a master year from Trent Robinson coaching them to get into that spot. Maybe whether it was 5th or whatever, it was in the finals and they were smashed by injury. But this is a huge test for him, because even the guys that he's replacing with, like, they're relatively big names, but I just don't know whether they're ready to step up and take the responsibility that has been the hole that has been left there. I'm pretty worried about the Roosters. As I said, we could wake up round 1 and they could play outstanding and sweet, and they could have had heaps of training this week. That's why they were flat, but they didn't look like the Roosters that I usually know.
Completely agree. And as you just said, mate, I think there is a world where they trained hard this week and, load and everything just caught up on them, whatever it might be. But, mate, I feel like there was a few moments in that game where you saw the Roosters looking at each other going, fuck, this is going to be tough this year. Like, I feel like there was a bit of a realisation in that game. I think Chad Townsend, I think he has to be the halfback, but geez, he looked off the mark to me. He just looked a yard too slow. They lack a long kicking game when you don't have a pack that's dominating. Like, I always look at the Manly Seagulls, like, their forward pack is good, but it's not fantastic. But if they have an average set, DCE turns into a great set with his boot. Man, like, some of their kicks yesterday weren't going more than 30 metres.
Yep.
And mate, I'll be honest with you, like, got to the back end of that game, Connor Watson played left centre for the last 10 minutes. What the fuck is going on? You can pick a squad of 26 dudes. How does... Like, I would argue now in this Roosters side, he's probably the most important player right now. As far as if he gets injured, what do they do?
Yeah. Yep.
He was playing left centre. They had a halfback playing right wing. Put anyone else out there.
Literally anyone.
That blew me away. And that was after Marky Mark, who I thought had a really good game. I think he looks tremendous. But he was out there cramping for about 20 minutes. They just kept leaving him out there.
Yeah.
I would have taken him as well.
He could barely walk.
He couldn't walk for like 10 minutes. It was ridiculous. The that whole management, I just cannot work out what they were thinking then.
The whole Townsend situation, when you actually look at that 7 jersey since Cronk, like, I kind of feel like every 7 has struggled at that club.
Yep.
And I just wonder, like, is it hard to understand the system? Because it took Sam Walker, like, 3.5 years to finally go, okay. And that was actually a mixture, I believe, of the Roosters almost giving a little bit and going, you know what, let's just give him the team. I just, like, since Cronk, it's been a tough jersey to get into.
Is it because it's designed by Cronk?
That's what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
when I look at that jersey and I look at the Roosters, is it the fact that Chad Townsend and all the people before him aren't playing well because of their fault, or is it a really hard system or jersey to understand with the system they've got in place?
Yeah, that's one thing I keep looking at. That you've got. Like I've said this before. Cooper Cronk and Sam Walker are the polar opposites of each other. I would argue Chad's probably closer to Cronk than what Sam Walker is.
Oh, easy.
Just
easy.
because Sam Walker is so play off his head, and like it doesn't shock me that he's had a lot of struggles fitting in with what I would assume if you've got Cooper Cronk in the building and your coaching staff, he's going to lean into your halves at the absolute minimum.
I mean, surely. You'd be crazy not to.
Even just that right edge, I thought Victor Radley looked so underdone yesterday.
Like, we saw Angus Crichton get bumped.
Angus Crichton had 12 runs for 60 metres.
Like, he's just come off a career where he literally could not be stopped.
Yeah.
And then I look in the forwards and, Lindsay, he's always going to give his absolute best, Lindsay Collins, but, Spencer Lenia was so different to Hargreaves. Like, he couldn't be more different. And I'll be honest, like, they missed Terrell May. I don't care what anyone says. They missed him.
Yeah.
They missed him.
Thank you.
And look, Roosters fans, I am more than open to the possibility because they look like either two things, that we should be extremely worried, or they've been training so hard and this is all by plan from Robinson. Like, it's all about, blocks of peaking and then tapering off. And that could explain the flat nature of the way they played, is the fact that they're currently in a block of training that is peaking.
Yep.
Then once this ends, pre-season is over after this game, and then he just tapers them all the way off. And by the time they get into round one, they are just absolutely exploding out of the blocks. That would explain this. And so I actually think there is maybe even a more than 50% chance likelihood that that's the case. Because I refuse to believe players of that quality are that underdone, other than they've been training really hard. And we're talking about Trent Robinson here. 3 premierships. We know this. He knows how to play. He knows how to coach. He knows what he's doing. But it did make me make pause, especially with the 7 jersey situation. Like, as I said, ever since Cronk, one of the greatest 7s all time, they just haven't seemed to find a 7 that seems to be comfortable there until Sam Walker essentially last year.
Yeah.
And so I just wonder whether it's a really hard system to just plug and play. It takes a while to get used to.
And you're right, they might get to round one and they've tapered, and that is the answer that makes the most sense.
Absolutely.
Because they were so poor yesterday that it doesn't make sense any other way. So we'll wait and see. But I just thought there were a lot of concerns there.
They looked rusty, clunky.
They just...
I mean, even like Dom Young, 13 runs, only 90 metres. Like, he's usually bloody running for free.
Honestly, they didn't look like they wanted to get into the gutter with the Knights. The Knights, and once again, I go back to the Knights, were missing Tyson Brazil and Adam Elliott, like 2 of their better forwards. It's not like they went up against one of the best middles in the comp.
Yeah.
Like the Knights, we have a lot of concerns with them. They had, a new 5'8" there. They're playing musical chairs with halfback. They're missing middles. Mate, 48 points is a lot of points to concede, and the vast majority of them were conceded in the first half against the Roosters' best side.
Yeah, look, if I had to gun to head, what is the answer? I just think that Robbo's got a certain... Because, Robbo is, so meticulous in his season-long planning. And how often have we seen, there's a reason why they do certain things. So, for example, before last year, for 3 years in a row, really slow starters, and then they would just absolutely hit their straps. And then we saw last year, they started really strong, banked up those points, and it actually really helped them. And so I wonder if he's trying to find a bit of a middle ground this year where, a middle ground between, the years before and last year. That makes more sense to me, I think. But as I said, even though I know it's a trial, I couldn't help but come away from that game going, geez, that definitely wasn't what Roosters fans would be expecting.
I also think, like, if you're wrong and it's not that they're, tapering for round one and whatnot, like, I look at the squad, mate. If it's not working, what changes are they going to make? Like, there's no one that I look at those extended players that I go, yeah, like, you've got your Blake Steeps who are handy, he can come in, but if the halves aren't working, whatever it is, you've got 4 or 5 halves that are sitting on the bench there. I don't think any of them are ready to step into that role.
Well, that's where I say it might be the biggest challenge of Robinson's career because, like, I don't know if he's ever gone into a season with a squad that, on paper, you could argue is not even top 8 on paper.
Yeah, I don't think they are.
Whereas usually Robbo's going into a year. And as I said, that's a different skill set. Like, to handle the best players in the competition on paper, that's a very special skill set. And some would argue it's harder than galvanising a lesser on paper squad. So not to suggest it's not hard, but it's a different challenge. It's a very different challenge.
I think as well, like, I see people in the comments saying that they've just got to survive until Walker and Cheese return. It's like, sure, but Walker and Cheese are returning off ACLs. Walker and Cheese aren't having a full preseason. Walker and Cheese are walking into a team that could be really defeated by then.
Like, even with Walker and Cheese back in the side, they still have lost Suoli'i, Manu, Hargreaves, May, someone else that I'm forgetting.
Kiri, there's heaps.
Kiri, like a lot of players.
Yeah, and that's assuming that all these guys stay fit.
Yeah, true. So, I mean, was there any shining lights for you guys? And I mean, look,
positives. I thought Marky Mark looked unreal.
Yep.
I think he's
an athlete.
Very talented. I would like to see him on the right side with that right hand carry. If you watch his highlights from Union, these incredible offloads he's got. And he can still do it on the left, and he did do it yesterday. But even just the way he caught that ball, he propped up his left and he threw it around like that. Like, very unorthodox, kind of ugly. But that's what he does. Yeah. He's just an athlete. Like, watching them on their social media and everything, like the way that he's doing like slam dunks at training, and you can just tell he is just... genetically, there's just something about him.
Yeah, he's special. I thought White was quite powerful in attack when he came on. I thought it was good that Sam Smith, actually, carried the ball as much as he did in running wise. He had nearly 200 metres run wise. But I got to say, like, I know this is a broken record, but James Tedesco, once again, like, his team needed him. They weren't playing well. They're in a trial. Like, this is a trial match. Tedesco could literally say to Robbo, I don't even want to play this game, and he would be allowed to sit on the bench. He not only did he play the game, but he absolutely worked his backside off in a trial. That's how competitive he is. And I just want to give him his flowers. He's such a good bloody footy player.
Yeah, and he's going to need to put every inch in this year. And they're going to have to get on his back.
Agreed. Nat Butcher, the only other one, 44 tackles, none missed.
Yep.
Bad.
Yep.
That's the sort of application I'll be hoping he's a little bit contagious through the squad. He was probably one of the standouts there with his kind of defence. So shout out to him as well.
So
Watson got through a lot of work too.
Yeah, I thought Connor was good too. Righty, on to Cowboys defeating the Storm 36-24. Look, with the Melbourne Storm, they could go and be beaten 50-0 each trial, and I wouldn't concern me one little bit. So I look at it and I go, yeah, okay. Like, those Cowboys did run away with it a little bit there, and they were dominant for periods, and it was some really, exciting stuff from the Cowboys. I think this trial is more about the Cowboys look bloody good, and some of their younger guys in key positions really stood up. Purdue and Duffy were absolutely phenomenal. I feel like Purdue is such an interesting player because every time he takes the field, my natural instinct is that guy is way too skinny to play in the centres.
Yep. And
every time he proves me wrong. Doesn't usually get dominated. Maybe sometimes he might lose contact, but that's like any outside back. But very rarely is he a spot. He always seems to break tackles. He always seems to be in the right place at the right time to create a try assist or wherever it is. Like, that's one area where I think the Cowboys have nailed it, is their next guys coming through are outstanding.
Yeah, Purdue, like, he's a little bit like Lehigh. You eyeball him and you go, oh, I don't know.
Jesus, yeah.
But every time he kills it.
Yeah,
does
it's
very well.
There were so many parts of his game yesterday, whether it was defense or attack, where the commentators even said, we just keep saying Purdue's name because he just seems to continue to be in the right place at the right time.
And Cowboys fans would know more than me, but from what I've seen of him, I think he's playing his third best position. I think in the halves and fullback, he's probably more suited to.
Yep.
But every time he jumps in the centres, he does incredibly well. So I think he'll be there round one. And, mate, I'd be locking in Tom Duffy.
Mate, doesn't he look good?
Fuck.
And also, what I like about Duffy is I don't even think Like we saw just a good solid halfback on the weekend. I actually think his strength is his like live wire stuff.
Mate, he had that one ad-lib moment where he got it off the second kick. Like, if he had 100 attempts at that kick, he couldn't have got it better than what he did.
Yeah.
You can't defend that.
No, and that's what I mean. Like, we saw him play a good, solid game yesterday, but I don't see him as a solid 7. I see him more in the mould of like your Hughes, that live wire 7 that can create kind of magic.
Now, I don't know if it was just the camera angle and stuff, but his kicking game looked unbelievable.
They have the biggest concern heading into this year was like who was going to play that 7 jersey. If he can hit the ground running, him and Dearden will be an absolute, and then Drinkwater at the back there, they're going to be a problem for like oppositions.
Yeah, I know that Jay Clifford's going to be available soon. I would start the season with Duffy personally.
Mate, you got a hot hand at the moment. You got a young kid that looks confident, looks ready. Get him in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a think less situation.
Yep.
Leave him there.
He's playing like Clifford. What is he injured, niggly or something like that?
He's apparently going to be available for round 1.
See, like if you got your kid with a hot hand that's full of confidence, don't dampen the flame. Don't go, oh mate, go back to reserve grade because that's like I'm sure he won't kick rocks, but you're turning the flame down.
Yeah.
Fucking fan that shit. Get him in round 1 and say it's your team.
Jeez, his goal kicking was good yesterday too.
Yeah, get him in there. Like just back him all the way in. And guess what? If he struggles in the first 2-3 weeks, because he's a rookie, you can say, mate, just get you back in reserve grade. You know what Clifford's going to offer.
Yeah.
You get him back in, and you just then you follow the normal plan.
You know what else I loved about his game yesterday? Like his kicking game was really good, and quite often when you see halves play on unusual fields that are like ovals, it can quite often throw their kicking game out. He never missed the mark on his kicking game yesterday.
It's
ticks a lot of boxes.
Yeah, I mean, 15 runs. He had more runs than Dearden. Like.
I feel like he didn't run all that much to me.
It's crazy. 18 tackles, only 3 misses. Like, so that's solid. Mate, I really like what he offers. I really do. What do you think, mate?
Yeah, I thought the Cowboys looked pretty good here. I thought Drinky was good against his old team.
Isn't he? He's just in attack. He is special.
Yeah, I thought he was all over it. Some great, obviously, stats make for great reading. 156 metres. He had a line break, 2 line break assists, a try assist. He was just everywhere. Obviously had the 2 tries as well. So
he had 3 line breaks.
Yeah.
3 line breaks. Wow.
2 tries as well. Like he was just sort of everywhere, all over. That's like exactly the sort of hit out you want to see from him leading into the season. He looked very solid. And I think, yeah, you're right, combined really well with Duffy and Dearden. So good signs.
Yep.
Braden Burns too. Thought he looked the goods out there on the right wing.
Big fella.
Probably one of the best real estate spots in rugby league.
Yeah,
right wing for the Cows.
1 or 2 errors that weren't the best, but it's a trial. You can, Braden Burns isn't notorious for errors, so he'll sort that out. But I agree with you, mate. I think he looks great, and like to be able to replace such a veteran with another guy that's played a fair bit of footy, it's a good thing to have where you're not too many rookies in the back there. I've got to tell you, like Viliami Vailea, I knew he was strong in contact and a big boy, but my God, he looked damaging.
Yeah, mate, he's got so much ability. It's not even funny. He's not even close to his potential. I don't know if he's going to reach it or if he's going to reach at the Cowboys. I don't know, but mate, I know over at the Warriors when Peter O'Sullivan signed him, he was like hyper confident he'd got a proper player there. Yep. The Cowboys have done well to get him up there, and he just goes from strength to strength. Sam McIntyre.
Well, my boy.
Fuck.
That's it. Start him. I had faith in you, my boy, Sam McIntyre. I said you should start. Surely he is locked into that starting jersey. Do not take it off him.
I think I think that's a starter. And then I think you add 10, 15 minutes to him. I think he'll be fine.
Absolutely, mate. He is exactly what they need. Even what's impressive about him, he's got all the ball running and everything, but he actually has a bit of ball playing as well.
Yeah.
Mate, the one thing the Cowboys have been missing through the middle is a dynamic front rower like that.
Yeah.
You got to start him.
And this is where as well, like if you can add 10, 15 minutes to his game, you can look at Tamalolo and go, mate, we need you for 30.
Just give
you
30.
Nuts for 30 and then we get you off.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you've got guys like Cohen Hess that you can ease back into it. Griffin Neem, always underrated. Mate, but McIntyre, hasn't he? Like, he was almost a guy on the bench last year that I feel like a lot of people would be like, oh, is that like a fringy, just making the bench at the start of last year? Literally, he may be the best front rower at the club right now. I know Tamalolo on his day is always going to be the best front rower, but Tamalolo's a little bit older now, all that stuff. But McIntyre for me, like he He's impressive. Really
Even when
impressive.
he was at the Titans, like he was. Most people won't even remember him now. I think he was at the Tigers before that too, very briefly. Like he was a guy that could play second row and he could play centre if you were desperate, if you needed someone to cover.
Yep.
Now he's just turned himself into an out-and-out middle. He's absolutely worked his ass off there. Is he New South Wales or Queensland? Do we know? He's one that, fuck, if he keeps going the way he's going, I reckon over the next few years, he's one that could, maybe not debut for Origin, but I could see him getting into a camp somewhere.
Especially in a Queensland side, he does, like, he's probably a New South Welshman, but he is that kind of smoky Queensland pick that you would go, oh, okay, here we fucking go.
You've said about a few guys today, high floor. You know,
Floor, yes.
He's one of those guys, like his worst games and his best games are quite close together, which is what we like to see.
New South Wales.
New South Wales. I
Head on him.
will say, this is music to my ears. Jeremiah Nanai, 14 runs, 152 metres, 46 post contact, 3 tackle breaks, 22 tackles, only 2 misses with no errors.
Made a move to the left too.
Mate,
2 try assists.
That's the Nanai we know. Still only, 22 years old or so. Like, so much footy ahead of him. He looks engaged. He looks ready to... And, we've been big fans of Nanai, but we've also been critical of Nanai as well. And sometimes it's so easy to forget how young this guy is. And I think that he's probably getting to the age now where he's like, you know what, like I can't really afford to just, one game be brilliant, one game not be brilliant. And the sky's the limit with him. Like, truly, the skill set on this back rower is nearly unlike something I've ever seen. Like, that's how high his ceiling is. Like, some of the stuff he's done, if you can just get the work rate right, there's a Dally M back rower waiting for him.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got that X factor that you just can't coach.
It's just mental.
Yeah.
Like, on the weekend, his stats were 2 try assists, 14 runs, 152 metres, 46 post contact, 3 tackle breaks, a line break, 22 tackles, 2 misses, no errors. Like, that's a knock. That is a knock. And it's in a trial match too. So he's coming into the year with a good attitude. And, if the Cowboys are to win a premiership, it's going to take guys like Nanai to go to a new level. It's going to take guys like, Dearden or Duffy to become, Dearden's already in the Australian side, but for Duffy to be a boom rookie. So I thought he was really, really good.
I thought Bateman looked good. I thought that
He looked outstanding.
He fit into the way that they play well. I know it's only one game, but I kind of felt like at the Tigers, he threw your structure out a little bit here and there. I think with the Cowboys, when he gets the ball and he does his crabbing and he just starts to screw around and he goes a little bit unorthodox, I think it fits in really well with how the Cowboys play.
Especially with Drinky hanging around him.
Yep.
And their want and keenness to attack from anywhere.
Yep.
Whereas, like, sometimes if you're at a team where, like, for example, the Tigers, where they're trying to play very conservative because the roster isn't as good, they just don't react to it because they're all just like, this isn't part of the plan. Whereas Cowboys are like, oh, we love this. Like, let's just do it.
Well, there was the try that Tom Dearden scored where they turned Bateman under on the right-hand side. He got tackled on the left tram line. Now, most coaches, you'd pull your hair and go, what the fuck are you doing?
Yep.
But straight away, that was Dearden's cue. Yep, I go now.
Yeah, mad. Awesome.
Yep.
Ad-lib play. Let's get on the back of it. And also, he's got an axe to grind.
Yep.
He's got an axe to grind, Bateman. Like he came out with that quote either this week or last week, like saying essentially that no one had spoken to him, and whoever you want to blame, it's irrelevant. What is relevant is he's at the Cowboys now, and him with motivation is a scary prospect.
Yeah,
which is good for the Cowboys. It's good for the Cowboys. In regards to other players, I know we've already spoken about Scotty Drinkwater, but mate, he's just he's a highlight machine. I would love to, for a guy that hasn't played Origin yet, he might have the best highlights in the competition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
right up there.
A guy with the highlights that he has usually is playing Origin. He is a special, special talent. The only thing that you got to worry with Drinkwater is just his defence. Is he committed in defence? And that's something on the other side with Fa'alongo at fullback. Just that defence he has to sort out immediately. There was one try where the guy just went straight through. He didn't lay a hand on him. And so, funnily enough, it's like, both fullbacks, like, that is their weakness, is like they just need to work on their defence. So if Scotty Drinkwater comes in this year committed to defence, I think it's going to be bloody good signs for the Cowboys. Anyone else stand out, you guys, for the Cowboys?
He only played very brief minutes, and as per this time of the year, when he gets on for brief minutes, Tom McHaley, I thought he looked damaging in those minutes.
Yep.
Just, once again, just translating it to week.
Yeah. Ruben Cotter, his little line break there. That mullet flapping in the wings. Harrison Edwards, 10 runs, 87 metres. Like, there was a lot to like about the Cowboys. There was a lot to like.
Isn't it amazing, like, in these trials, you get those moments like Ruben Cotter, if you have a look on that run, the plays he ran through, like they were all reserve grade players, and just how dynamic he looks in that moment compared to those other guys.
Yep.
Just crazy, just the levels to it.
Yep, absolutely. So, look, great trial for the Cowboys. Any question heading into this season that you would ask in the Cowboys, like who's their 7 going to be? What's their, my biggest 2 questions for the Cowboys heading this year, 7 and one of the front rowers that we're talking about. Granted, now maybe they, need to recruit one more. I personally think McIntyre is that guy. I think he can be the guy that kind of changes their forward pack. So far, of them at full strength, those 2 questions for me are answered as much as they can be in a trial at least.
Yeah.
So that's good news for the Cowboys. On to the Storm. As I said, they could lose 100-0 in both trials. I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
But little tiny things that you have to look at. Fa'alongo, we know how good he is in attack. He's electric. He's amazing. Just defensively, positionally, there's tries where people will just step inside him and he just won't get a hand on him. And I think that's the only area where he needs to work on, because in attack, he's one of the best attacking players in the competition, in my opinion. Just defensively, position-wise. And granted, there are so many fullbacks that's what they have to work on. We just spoke about Scotty Drinkwater, but I reckon he just needs to really focus in on that issue.
100%. Completely agree. And even watching him play the New South Wales Cup the back end of last season, it was the same thing. Like, it is something he's definitely got to work on. He's got all the attacking upside in the world, but, I mean, history tells me if you're going to be a Melbourne Storm fullback, defensively, you've got to be top-notch.
Yeah. Yeah,
so I
absolutely.
think he has got a lot to work on that front. I think he did his hammy at one point. I've heard that it's not as bad as they thought. So
The problem is, though, he's done his hammy before, pretty sure.
yeah, I'm also just talking for round 1 when they'll need him, because Pappy's out till round 3. But yes, it is the way that he moves. Hammies are a nightmare.
And what I say off air the last time that this happened, I was like, I might have even said on air, I was like, the way he moves, you cannot afford, and also at his weight, because he's lighter, you just can't afford. That's one thing you don't want happening is hammies going, because he is so explosive. It's like, how do you find that balance of not going too crazy, but at the same time, that's your biggest strength. So he's got to get on top of that. Whether he, I don't know, loses a little bit of muscle mass in his legs maybe. I'm not a physio, but hopefully it is not a reoccurring thing all year long.
I thought the biggest positive to come out of this game for the Melbourne Storm, and I could not care less what his stats look like, Cameron Munster just looked to be moving freely.
Yep. And he looked fully unhindered.
Yep.
There was no, when he was running the ball, when he was asking for the ball, there was no hesitancy. It was the Munster of old of like, give me the ball, I'm going to do something. I agree with you, mate. I thought that, whatever his stats were, I haven't even looked yet. He just looked engaged and ready to go.
Yeah, not much doing on the stat sheet. Couldn't care less. He was moving well. He seemed keen.
Yeah, he seemed really, really keen, which is like, him at playing his best footy in last year's grand final, who knows what could happen.
Yeah.
Now, I thought Stefano again had another good knock. I thought he looked good, looks fit, looks ready to go. Ran over 100 metres again.
Didn't miss a tackle.
3 offloads, didn't miss a tackle, 26 tackles. That's all you're asking for. He scored a try as well. 14 runs, 109 metres, 39 post contact, 6 tackle breaks, a line break, 3 offloads, 26 tackles, 0 misses. That's a bloody good knock against a side that were getting dominated for a while.
Yeah, keen to see him and Nass's a 1-2 punch there. That'll be good. Boys, Sean Bloor on the left edge.
Yeah.
Looked trim, looked fit.
Yep. Try assist.
That try assist was sharp. That was obviously like a set play that they'd practiced quite a bit.
That goes as far back as bloody Hoffman on the edge there. Billy Slater. That's what that reminded me of.
You could see on Bloor's face even before he passed that, he knew he had him.
Yeah. Was it Hoffman on that left edge that used to play?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Billy Slater honestly, it was like a spitting image of Billy Slater coming through that gap
Good
there.
courage. He got cleaned up as well while he was doing it. So.
He got hammered. Yeah. But I thought Bloor looked very, very good in this one.
And funnily enough, the first year Katoa got to the Storm, it was a similar first year, wasn't it? Where it was like he ticked all the boxes, didn't set the world alight, he just ticked all the boxes. And then it was his second year where he just went boom. And I wonder whether Bloor's going to do the same.
And I think that's the Melbourne Storm way. You get down there, you get through your pre-season, you earn your stripes, you show that you can hold it with them.
Yep, lay the foundation.
And then they allow you to play some footy.
Yeah, and so with Bloor, mate, if that's what he's going to be delivering each year, each game, that's a strike weapon on the edge there. And then all of a sudden you've got 2 strike weapons on the edge, plus Munster, plus Hughes, plus Pappy roaming around the back there. Hopefully he's all good. Outside of that, I'm just trying to think in regards to, like, it's the Melbourne Storm, you know, like, a little bit worried that both fullbacks are picking up niggly injuries regularly.
Yep.
That's a concern because, you know, they go from a position of having too many fullbacks too many NRL level fullbacks to having to rotate constantly between the two if they're picking up niggly injuries. So it's very hard to build combinations with. But fingers crossed, it's just, you know, precaution with Pappy because so basically he's not going to be available round one. Going to be interesting to see if Fa'alongo is going to be available round one because they're bringing Pappy back round 3 after their second round, which is a bye. So they actually might start the year with Meany at the back there.
Yeah.
Or a young fella coming through.
Boys, I'd be happy to play Wishy there.
You know, I don't mind it. Or would you put Wishy at centre?
I'd put him at fullback.
Yeah, okay.
I wouldn't. I think. I mean, Meany defensively
keep those
isn't
combos.
great, to be fair, but yeah, I don't know. I'd be happy to have him at fullback, Wishy.
Okay. Just get him in the side playing big minutes.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you reckon, Hammy?
Well,
Meany or
is it? I'm just thinking who their wingers are probably going to be. So you're probably going to have Warbrick and Coates.
Warbrick and Coates, yep.
So what about Anderson, who was great last year on the wing? Would you give him even a crack at fullback?
Yeah, maybe. I think I'd probably go Meany and Wishy over him. But it might be a case if Grant Anderson comes in and plays centre. Like the other thing you got to consider is that I don't know if Jerome Hughes is playing round one. He's still under a bit of a cloud.
Mate, there are so many freaking injuries. It is just...
It's almost like they're playing too much football.
Well, Wishy, for what it's worth, I thought he looked pretty solid at 7.
Yep.
You know, if he's got to play at 7 because Hughes is out, he did a pretty good job, and he definitely looked like he had like good voice organising everybody and all that sort of stuff too. So
just a shout out to Nathaniel Roach, who came off the bench. Made his debut in round 1 of 2016. He's played 27 games. The last game he played was in 2021.
Good on him. Just hanging in there.
Yeah.
Just battling away. Now he's at the Storm.
On the 5th of October 2014, Roach started at centre for the Junior Warriors in the 2014 Holden Cup Grand Final. Unbelievable.
Wow.
That's perseverance for you. Perseverance. So, look, Storm, I think they'll be fine. I think, if anything, it's just the worry around Hughes, Pappy, Fa'alongo, key players with niggly injuries. But I think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Nothing too
Not all
worried about.
trials are equal. I think this one meant a lot to the Cowboys.
Yeah. All right, let's face a bit of music, shall we? Brought to you by our friends over at Sportsbet. Don't forget, stay tuned for all our Vegas content brought to you by our friends over at Sportsbet. Sending myself and Hammy over there. Keep an eye on our social media because we'll be bringing out a bunch of content. Hopefully, be doing a podcast per day, just a little diary per day. Hammy, what do you got, mate?
Sounds good. And let us know anything you want us to go, see, do, show you. Let us know in the comments. And
Also, Beaks Bag. We forgot it. Leave your comment. Beaks Bag. It's one question, and then whichever question we pick, we choose. Whichever question we pick, we give a $50 bloke gift voucher too. So leave your question, and then we answer it the next week. Each week we give one $50 gift voucher away. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. It really does help us in the algorithm with Spotify and YouTube, and it literally takes 2 seconds. It honestly does wonders for us.
Yes, let's have a quick look at the 2 Vegas games. We'll just the 2 NRL games specifically. I think to kick off the season, we'll round out our kind of pre-season and kick off the main season for Face the Music. First game, Raiders $2.28. The Warriors $1.63. The line in this one is 3.5 points. If you want the big wins, little wins, I can give you the prices for them as well if that's your selection. But that's what the market's saying so far. Raiders, the outsiders, Warriors, the favourites. Line 3.5.
And we're taking odds, not
We're taking
points
odds
now.
from season 2025. Your
Unreal.
points will be settled on the odds that you took, as opposed to just 1 point. For everything.
So for example, let's say the Raiders win, I'll get 2.28 points. Okay.
And are we doing, if you take them 1 to 12, you get 335?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep. So what would you like to do, Kempy? First game, Raiders, Warriors.
I haven't got actually all the odds in front of me now, so it's like because you can get Warriors with the start. Raiders with the
So
start.
1 to 12, Raiders 335, Warriors 1 to 12, 280, Raiders 13 plus 580, Warriors 13 plus.
I'm going Raiders 1 to 12.
Yep, $3.35.
That's value.
Yeah, I'm doing the exact same.
That's fine.
I'm going Raiders 13 plus.
Raiders 13
What?
plus at 580.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm just going to go Raiders head to head at $2.28.
Okay.
I'm not going to get bogged down in the margin, but I think I've liked the way they've gone about their preseason. Looking forward to seeing how they're going. We'll make sure Timmy gets his in as well. Other game, Penrith Panthers, $1.53. Sharkies, $2.52. The line in this one is 4.5 points.
What's the 1 to 12?
1 to 12 for the Panthers, 265. Sharkies 1 to 12, 345. 13 plus. Panthers $3.05. Sharkies 13 plus.
I'm just going Panthers head to head.
$1.53.
Well, I'm just going to get some points on the board if I get the other one
Okay.
wrong.
Give me Sharkies plus 4.5, mate.
Okay.
I'll go Sharks 1 to 12.
I'm just going to go Sharks head to head. I think Panthers last couple of seasons they've started slow.
Okay.
Sharkies, I reckon they got the best pack in the comp. I've said it a few times. AFB coming in. I can smell an upset over there. So Sharkies head to head.
I agree.
254 for me.
I mean, it would be like a grand final for the Sharkies because that, like, you know, they're setting the tone, all that stuff.
This is like Penrith's first game without Fish. They've got Blaze in at 5'8". They've got Isaiah Papali'i come back in. They don't. There's rumours Toto could be out of this one too. So it's a completely new side that hasn't played a game yet, and they tend to start slow anyway.
Yep. I'm with
And
you.
they did lose the Broncos.
They've already put it in, mate.
you
So
put it in, buddy.
unfortunately, you take the
No,
Panthers.
I wasn't going to change it, guys. Don't you put your fucking shit on me. I wasn't going to change it. I was having a fucking just to think, mate. That's all. That's Face the Music, brought to you by Sportsbet. Give us a follow on the feed. Make sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment. All that good stuff. And make sure to stay tuned to our Vegas content. And as usual, we'll all go fuck ourselves. Thank you.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.